3, 2. Oh my God.
Yo, what's up?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the program.
The Airtime Podcast is presented by Van Shoes since 1966.
There's nothing fake about it. Have something to believe in and be yourself. You know what I'm saying?
All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We have an outdoor master, and I'm really selfish for this podcast because there's a lot of things that this individual is doing that I want to do in the near future. So we got pro skier, fisher, hunter, and there's also some freshly baked focaccia bread, which is a first for the podcast. We got Tatum on the podcast. Thank you so much for coming, and thanks for the fucking bread.
Thank you for having me. And I'm sorry I'm late. I was like in the middle of cooking focaccia, and I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be in Whistler right now.
Honestly, you show up with a fresh baked loaf like this, 15 minutes late, I think I'm winning here. And I'm big on the charcuterie board, the fresh bread. Like that's a nice touch.
So good. I've finally figured out this recipe. It's all about the yeast at the beginning. It's hard to nail it down, but I think I've got it under lock.
Don't you need some like kind of mother or something? Is there a mother involved?
That's for sourdough.
Oh.
I don't know. That's a whole other art. Focaccia's easy. It's just like it takes a day. I think sourdough takes like 2.
Are you a baker of sweet or savory?
Definitely sweet. Cakes and pies and
ooh, really?
Now
Cakes
focaccia, but yeah, cakes are like, that's my thing. Like if it's somebody's birthday, I'm like, please, can I make you a birthday cake? It's my thing.
What is your go-to cake?
Well, actually, I should say too, I made my brother and his wife's wedding cake this summer.
Oh, damn.
It was a carrot cake with cream cheese frosting, and I completely botched it. And I cried. I completely bawled my eyes out. It was the most stressful experience of my entire life. I will never do it again.
Well, yeah, you fucked up somebody's wedding cake. What are you doing?
Yeah, the layers were like melting, and it was like this multi-tiered masterpiece. So it was meant to be. And it was like a couple hours before the actual wedding. Then I'm like, okay, I'll assemble it. Everything's perfect. I like did all my research with it. And the icing was just too warm, and it was all the layers were sliding like on ice. It was terrible. I was in tears.
Well, did they approach you to make the cake, or did you approach them?
That's a really good question. I feel like I volunteered myself, and they were like, oh, maybe out of just being nice. Oh, yeah, sure. We'd love that. And I just remember walking into the venue and a couple people being like, oh, can we help you? Can we salvage this? I'm like, this is what it is.
At that point of the wedding, though, nobody really gives a shit about the cake. There's a couple people there for the cake, but after the main dinner, I mean, the people that are there to celebrate the wedding are kind of already giving her. So
100%.
Like,
no one cares.
Nobody remembered the fucking cake.
Not at all. In fact, I'm pretty sure someone like threw it on the ground at the end of the night. I was like, cheers.
Yeah. Don't waste too much energy being bummed on a cake. I've fucked up a lot of things in this life, a lot more than cake. Let's go through quickly here just to kind of get to know you. Some bullet point, 10 childhood questions presented by Baldface. Thank you, Jeff, and everybody there for supporting the podcast and doing snowboarding proud. I mean, I guess we could touch on the fact that you're the first skier that's ever been on the podcast.
Ooh.
Other than Sean Pettit, but like...
I'm honored. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I live in Whistler, so at this point, the petty beef between snowboarding and skiing dissipated very quickly when I moved here, and I got to see like Kai and Sean and Cal and all these skiers riding the mountain when I had like, I don't even know, like a long tall tee on riding the park. And they're like, you know, you can like go up peak and ride POW. It snowed a lot. And I'm like, damn, skiing's kind of sick.
I'm glad to hear you say that beef's done, because it's so 90s to me. I'm like, okay, the man boys making fun of me in the parking lot at the end of the day still happens. Let's be honest. But I'm like, guys, skiing's cool too. Like,
no. Here's where I draw the line. I do not like skiing on rails. It's not my cup of tea. I don't hate it. It's just I don't like it. Skiing big mountains, I love it. I like it a lot. You know what I mean? When I see like Logan and yourself and Kai and Sean and Callum and all these riders and Con Man riding the hill, like those people, like I just love, or Durs. There's so many skiers that I'm
Heck
like,
yeah.
damn, like that are just like, you know, not full trick oriented, but they go down the mountain. They use the tool
Absolutely.
for what it's made for, which is to billy goat down mountains.
Well, why do you think most of the first descents were done on skis?
Well, because the snowboard wasn't invented yet.
I don't know. It's just
We
four
were
edges.
surfing still.
Four edges makes a lot more sense at times. But that being said, I definitely get down on snowboarding and power surfing myself too. So
Have
I
you been
understand.
snowboarding before?
Yeah, I own a few snowboards, and I was power surfing a lot this winter. It was, yeah, that's about the funnest thing out, I think.
I totally agree. Pow surfing is it's surfing on snow, but I still like the bindings more because I can really kind of like the pow surf is like for when I'm like 58 and I've fully given up on freestyle maneuvers. But for right now, if I got those bindings on, I can kind of just give her a little bit harder.
100%. You and all the rest of the boarders, I think, feel that way. But it's pow surfing is nice for like the winter we had this year, where it was just everything was sketchy all the time. We weren't really able to jump into bigger terrain, and it was like pretty easy to just put on a pair of snow boots and pow surf and be on low angle and just still have a blast.
Vans actually makes like a pair of boots. It's called the linerless, and it's for like pow surfing. So it's got a really light strap on the top. I don't know. Do you
Sick.
Do you use those?
I have
Or-
a pair of Vans that I put like a BOA ski boot liner in. So there's like a little bit of flex, just a tiny bit. But then I have the like true flat feet Vans tread.
Sweet. Thank
So,
you.
shameless
There's-
plug.
Yeah, there's sweet Vans. Big shout outs. The one thing I will say is I've only went skiing once in my life, and it wasn't on skis. It was on these like things that we called like, they were just like rollerblades that were flat. I don't know
my
what they're called.
gosh.
Snow dogs.
I don't even know what that is,
You know what I
Jody.
mean? They're just a boot that's like hard, but then the bottom is just flat, so there is no ski, and you just run around on them.
I
It's
think we need to get you like a legit alpine setup. Although you are like the most core boarder I know. I just can't see you on
I'm
like
never
skis.
going skiing.
Well, I'm glad you have respect for it.
I have big respect for it, but I have no desire.
I
It's like
understand.
there's this weird thing though, where like a lot of my friends who ski, they go snowboarding on certain days. You know, they go pow surfing when it's super deep, Avi's high, or they bring up 2 setups and they go snowboarding sometimes. But like, I don't have too many friends that go skiing. So like, have you ever thought about just moving over?
It is pretty simple when you're out on your snowmobile and you have to do the boot change. All my boarding friends are just making fun of me. I'm like, guys,
The boot change is wild.
yeah, get into the old bear traps. Minus 30, super fun.
I mean, you have a long history of skiing and with your family and the whole lineage involved here. So you're making them proud. Keep skiing. There's no animosity here. We're moving back to the 10 childhood questions that I prepared by Baldface before we got sidetracked there, which will not happen again. All right, question 1. What kind of kid were you? Troublemaker? Teacher's pet?
Ooh, definitely troublemaker.
No way! I thought you were going to be teacher's pet all the way.
No, I barely graduated high school. I was just not present for, I don't know, that section of my life. I was a little bit rogue. Definitely a tomboy. I don't even think I had like a real teacher that I connected with or a good mentor in my educational part of my life.
No way.
Yeah, I was ski racing a lot in high school, so I wasn't there a ton, and school was just I never did well in a structured environment.
Me neither. Cheers to that. Hear, hear. Look at us now.
We really made it,
Sitting
Jody.
here with a fresh baked loaf of focaccia.
Living the
Yeah.
dream.
Living the dream.
Bread and beer.
Bread and beer. I mean, I'm here for it. Okay. Question 2. First concert you ever went to?
Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Oh, fuck, really? That's
Yeah.
dope as hell. Damn, really?
Yeah.
Your parents take you to that?
No, it was when I think it was one of his last tours. He was very old. Like I remember him coming on stage and I was like, whoa, like you are old.
It's like going to a Shania Twain concert right now.
Yeah.
You're like, damn.
Also saw her last summer.
She's amazing. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, she's actually, so she lives I should say she owns a property where my parents live in Alberta.
Dang.
And my parents hang out with her quite a bit. My dad
Your
rides
parents-
horses with her. Yeah, I've met her a few times. She's actually lovely. Like, she's a small town Canadian girl. She's like truly so sweet.
I'm glad, because when I picture Shania Twain, this is kind of weird, but I picture my mom vacuuming the house because she would turn it so loud that you could hear it over the vacuum, and she'd be dancing with the vacuum. Like,
Goals.
yeah, that's a nice one for
That's
me.
what I
there.
want to be.
Yeah. Okay, who do you want to see in concert?
Ooh. I'm going to see Charlie Crockett in a few weeks.
That's a good one. And honestly, if somebody asked me, is Charlie Crockett alive? I'd be like, well, I don't know. like Charlie Crockett, isn't he really old?
No, he's new school.
Oh, there's another Crockett then that's like really old.
Oh, yeah, I know the one you're... No, different guy.
Yeah, okay.
Charlie Crockett's kind of like... He's emerged within the last few years, but he's kind of got this old school country twang to him. Little bit bluesy, but small venue. Then I'm really excited. Tickets were only like $25, and I'm going to be the first at the door because I want to be at the front.
I mean, country has taken a big turn. I feel like the Ian Knowles and Coulter Walls and stuff like that. I mean, they've really helped reconstruct what country is. My parents had a farm, and we had horses and all that, so we listened to a lot of country music.
Yeah.
And there was a big period there from like when I was like 12 until I was 30. Where I hated country music. And then I went back and my dad's like, just listen to the fucking lyrics. And I'm like, 4 beers deep. You're like, they're not bad. 8 beers deep and you're with your dad and you're listening to a country song with good lyrics. You're like, damn, that hits.
Oh, I'm a huge country music fan. Guilty. I also like the pop country. Not going to lie.
Like Morgan Wallen and stuff?
Oh, I get down with that for
sure. I'm
sure.
so down with Morgan Wallen. I feel bad saying that, but if he comes on, it's like kind of like, I don't know. What's like another, like The Weeknd, you know what I mean? He's just catchy.
Totally.
And like some of those songs are just like, what's that Blinded by the Light song or whatever?
Oh,
I don't know, that song comes on, I'm like, this song sucks. And then it's like, if I'm alone for long enough and I need to like stay awake while I'm driving, I'm like, well, it's not that bad. I'll turn it up.
Oh, I know. I love it. I love it.
One song you know all the lyrics to.
Beyonce's Lemonade album. Pretty much know every word to every song on that album. But I will say, her new country album that just dropped. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but I am not a fan.
I like the honesty.
I'm not into it.
We appreciate it.
I've tried to like it. I just don't like it.
It does suck when you have an artist that puts out an album and then you try and like it. Like I liked Kanye when he first came out, and then there was a couple albums that I was like, damn, these are just not what I like anymore. Like I tried to get down. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
All right. Favorite country artists, or maybe a couple that you'd like.
I think I kind of do have to say Shania, just because.
Of course.
Oh my gosh, she's the queen, and yeah, I think we all grew up listening to her music, and yeah, she's an absolute legend.
Did Shania Twain get cheated on while she was putting out this album or something like that? Wasn't something crazy like that happen?
Oh my gosh, I think there was some drama there at some point in her life. Watch her documentary. It's incredible.
I did watch the documentary.
That's very well done.
That shitty memory came from. That filing cabinet in my brain's a little dusty still because like I probably wasn't fully paying attention to the movie.
Right.
But I got to give a shout outs to George Strait. I'm a big fan of, and Lee Hazelwood.
Oof, love Lee Hazelwood.
Yeah, Lee Hazelwood's a top dog.
I was introduced to Lee Hazelwood by Carl Nanaro, like from Metallic, his wife. And yeah, she would just put on Lee Hazelwood records and we'd sit in her living room and drink tea. And yeah.
I mean, that's a good, you drink tea to Lee Hazelwood. I mean, he did a lot of featuring with Nancy Sinatra.
Yeah.
They did a whole album together. That one's banging.
Power. That's Power couple. Well, I don't know if they're dating, but.
I don't know. Yeah, they were probably.
Let's hope they were.
Well, they might have been. You never know. What did you want to be before you wanted to be a pro skier, or if that thought came into your head?
Oh my gosh, that's a really good question.
Like when you were like 11, were you like, damn, I want to be a firewoman?
That's a good question. I feel like for as long as I can remember, I always wanted to be a pro skier. But I thought I was going to be an Olympian. I thought I was going to do the ski racing thing for a long time. But I grew up with a horse, and I did 3-day eventing, which is like, it's pretty fun. It's like you jump, you do dressage, and then you do like this gnarly galloping through the fields, jumping over fences.
Damn.
And I did that like quite competitively and was on the young Alberta riding team and everything, and kind of thought I would make it in that for a while, but realized the horses are a lot of money. So
Big time.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just rode basically a Western pony and taught that horse how to jump. He was just like an Appaloosa. So it was pretty funny. But
My dad is begging my mom to get rid of our horse. Or when our horse passes away, that'll be a sad day. But my dad's like, we're not getting another one. My mom's like, we're getting another one. And my dad's like, come on.
oh yeah, it's a lifestyle.
Poor guy. Favorite family vacation?
Oh my gosh. I mean, being from Alberta, I didn't really go to the ocean until I was 18. And I just very vividly remember going to Maui with my family and being like, oh my gosh, like, this is beautiful. I was just floored. And like, just growing up in the mountains, that we'd always kind of stay local to Banff. Like, why leave? Banff is beautiful and it's a postcard in real life. But I just like very vividly remember seeing the ocean at like, I think I was maybe 16 or 17. I was just blown away.
It was Maui?
Yeah.
I've never been. What's it like? What blew you away about Maui?
Just like being in the ocean, having my toes in the sand for the first time. I remember I got so sunburnt. Just this Canadian girl being on the beach for the first time. Like, yeah, that feels like another lifetime ago.
I feel like 90% of Canadians, when they go south anywhere, they get absolutely burnt. That's just, nobody listens to like,
no.
I'm going to get a bit of sun today. They're like, I'm here.
Oh yeah. I'm one of those.
Sunburn. In the house, in the hotel with a fan on for like 4 days.
100%.
Horrible call. Favorite movie growing up?
Ooh. My brain also works the same way.
That filing cabinet is a little dusty as well.
Oh my gosh. Goldie Hawn's daughter, and she goes with the band, and she's a groupie for the band. Oh my God.
That is not...
This is going to drive me crazy.
Bringing up zero data in my head.
Really?
Just so everybody knows, she also brought balsamic vinegar, or what is that? Balsamic reduction and olive oil?
Yes.
Yeah, fire. Okay, did you find the movie?
Almost Famous. Almost Famous. Have you never seen that? You would love it.
Is Almost Famous the one with Chris Farley? That's Almost Heroes. Man, that's a good movie.
Almost Famous. Great film. I think I watched that 100 times, and of course I couldn't remember the name of it, but yeah.
All right, good pick. First car.
Ooh, I had a Jetta Volkswagen.
What color?
Silver. It had a little spoiler on the back, and I thought I was really cool driving that car.
Listening to Shania Twain just zipping around Banff.
Pretty
Nice.
much, yeah. Yeah, drove it to Revelstoke one winter, and yeah, the rest is history.
That stresses me out. Long drives in like that kind of car.
100%.
Like over those roads. What's that road called? Crow's Nest or whatever?
Crow's Nest Pass?
Yeah, that road is insane.
Yeah.
Every time I drive that, I'm so bummed. I'm like, oh, we got to go over Crow's Nest Pass, and it's a 4-day blizzard, and the Avies are happening, and semis are in the ditch, and you're like, Jesus.
Oh, you're thinking Rogers Pass.
Oh, yeah, one of those.
From Banff to Revelstoke, it's like the
And all of
gnarliest
those
section of the
passes stress me
Trans-Canada.
out.
Yeah, that whole section is like that. I think that is considered the gnarliest section of the Trans-Canada Highway. And just to imagine me and my little Volkswagen driving down there, no.
Totally. Oh, yeah. Okay, childhood hero.
Ooh, these are really good questions, Jody.
Thank you so much.
Honestly, Sarah Burke was up there.
Damn, good pick.
Yeah.
Good pick.
Sarah I never got to meet Sarah, which was, I feel like I came so close on multiple occasions, and we just never got to connect. But I definitely always looked up to Sarah.
Wild, even when you don't meet somebody, just how, or sometimes that's a good thing when you don't meet your heroes. But
That's
for
what they
someone
say.
like Sarah, I feel like it's unfortunate that you didn't get to meet her, because I don't think anybody on earth has a bad thing to say about Sarah.
100%.
She seemed like, I don't remember meeting her. I feel like I saw her a bunch, like on the glacier and just floating around, because I've been in town for like 20 years. But man, that was a big loss for the world. It seemed like.
Oh, for sure. Sarah had this motto that went, do one thing a day that scares you. And I've definitely like carried that through in my life. Like I think every day I'm like, do one thing a day that's hard. Like challenge myself in some way, even if it's just a little bit every day.
That's a good piece of advice.
Yeah, I like it.
I think I live it that same style, but instead of in that context, I do the step out of your comfort zone. Kind of the same kind of thing. But like that's my thing is because I get stuck in my ways with things.
So easy to do.
So easy. Even like something as simple as like I walk the dog and I do the same loop. And today I was like, I'm not going to go anywhere I've ever been. Like, which is like, you know, it's like pathetic, but it was raining.
Myself.
So I was going, I went rogue.
Good for you.
So we already kind of touched on this, but I did have this question teed up. You don't you don't sled in ski boots.
Absolutely no snowmobiling in ski boots. That's a crime.
It's a crime or it just hurts too much? Is it possible?
It's just like handicapping yourself. It is so hard.
But when you double, do you do it?
Yeah, but you're doubling, so you're not really like having to snowmobile. Like you're not doing maneuvers, you're not breaking trail. You've already put in the double, so it's just a matter of getting up the thing, and that's pretty easy. But it's when you're having to like jump back and forth on your running boards or like get through tight trees or put in a trail, you do not want to be in ski boots. So hard.
What's the case to somebody that doesn't know what we're talking about doubling? It's when one person stands on the left side and one person stands on the right side of a snowmobile, and then you make a track and you beat that track down by doing some laps on it, and then it's easy to climb so you can get up the hill, and then you shuttle people on it so you can ride a face or a jump or whatever like that. So my question to you is, what's the gnarliest double you've ever done?
Ooh. Taylor Gobber and I doubled up, essentially not to the top. You have to boot pack the last little bit, but we pretty much doubled up Sun God.
Damn, that's pretty legendary.
It was insane.
What like was it like a summer day or like was it POW?
Gabe was there. Gabe Langlois, he was filming. And we just paved this gnarly road up the thing. And then I just looked at her and I'm like, we should try and double this. And I had a turbo and we're both pretty light and we did it. It was, I don't know for sure, but I don't believe that it's ever been done. I've talked to Johnny Foon a little bit about it and he's like, you guys doubled up that? Like, that's insane.
Legends. Way to go. Shout outs to you, Gabe and Taylor. That's badass.
Yeah, we're good partners. That's for sure.
I mean, the new sleds are pretty wild. The new Skidoos. I mean, you throw the turbo on and you go, I mean, do you run the 65 or do you go
65?
Yeah, me too. I like the 65.
Yeah, I ran a 54 forever and ever. And I was like, I will never ride a 65. And then a couple years ago, just trying to keep up. And on those deep days, I was like, I need a 65.
That's the best. I remember having a 2014 sled and I was like, my whole crew was like, dude, you need a new sled. And I was like, this is the best sled ever. I am never buying a new sled. And then I got a 2016 and I got that one. And I remember being like, I don't need a new sled. This thing is perfect. Got 3-inch paddles now. Like, I did the 65. I never thought I was going to go from the 54 to the 65.
Yeah, same.
But a lot of people say the 74, I feel like, given my size and my weight, I don't need it. But I have been on Leyland's 74 turbo and Ejac and Rasman doubled up this one face that was like impossible to, even with the shuttle track on, they couldn't make it up. It getting stuck everywhere. Leyland's like, he had a new sled, the next year's model, and he had a 74 and a turbo, and they went in the fresh snow and
they
broke
made it up.
trail all the way past where they needed. It was like we were all losing our minds. I was like, as if snowmobiles are this good.
I mean, I think there's a reason these machines cost $20,000 minimum now. Like they are so superior to what they were a few years ago, and they just keep getting better. Like every year, I'm like, how much better can this one be? And I'm like blown away every year.
Yeah,
but I think we're gonna see a lot more people on 74s. I think that's trending.
It is trending. I remember when the 3-inch paddle came out, and like I wasn't the hugest sled nerd at the time, but I remember hearing my friends that were sled nerds being like, man, you don't need anything over 2.5-inch paddle. That's getting ridiculous. And now it's like nobody is begging for a 2-inch or a 2.5-inch paddle. They're like, no, the 3-inch paddle is amazing.
Yeah,
Like,
it's pretty much a necessity, I would say.
it's wild to think what like 10 years sleds are going to be. Do you think they're all going to go electric or no? Maybe?
I don't think so.
Me neither.
No.
I trust gas over electric. I would be scared to be like, I don't know. I don't have the trust yet.
I don't either.
Yeah. If I'm in the mountains, I want to have a...
I'm with you. That's definitely not, the mentality.
Batteries and cold? It's like we are from the generation where it's like if you have a Walkman or whatever like that, you leave the batteries in the cold, they're done.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're outside and it's -40 and you have a battery-powered snowmobile, that would stress me out on those like cold days, or if you have to stay overnight, if it's going to start in the morning. Like, ooh.
Yeah, the technology is definitely just not there yet. But
so what's your Skidoo? What is your Skidoo setup right now?
I'm riding a 164 turbo, the beige color.
Oh, nice.
Very nice touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lower my bars. That's like a huge thing for me. And then I have the narrower grip bars as well. Just the little mods. The lower seat makes jumping back and forth on your
You have
running
the
boards.
reinforced bumper. You don't need it anymore.
I have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. I kind of like that touch, especially if you have to double a sled out.
100%.
But if you're the person who doesn't get the reinforced bumper, you're just like, I can't double out. Like, you know what I mean? You're just like, and then they're like, oh, Tatum, we have to take your sled to double.
Which is fine.
Which is fine, because do you get them for free?
I do. I'm very fortunate enough to be sponsored by Skidoo, yes.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Yeah, Skidoo. If you want to sponsor the podcast, let me know. I love your machines. I've been running them. I bought 5 of them now. Buy 5, get 1 free.
Yeah, dream on. Maybe you could work. You have some kind of history there with your family.
I know. I have a little bit of family history there, or not history with Skidoo, but history with the making of a snowmobile.
That's so cool.
It was pretty cool.
Work that angle, Jody.
I'll work that angle. All right, hit us with a stereotype that skiers have on snowboarders. Just a harsh stereotype. Like, you're 16 years old. What did you think about snowboarders?
I don't even know. I snowboarded. It was my first sport I ever did. I should say. So at 16, I was thinking, yeah.
You changed.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, big time. But I don't know, like anytime snowboarders are harshing on skiers, or like I'm getting shit from the man boys in the parking lot, I'm just like, you guys just go grab Tindy. Like, go do some lame grab on your board. Like, I don't know. You guys are... I hate that skier snowboarder dynamic. I'm like, that's over, guys.
It is so over.
Yeah.
I think that if anything, it's just one of those things that people like to take lighthearted jabs as if it's still going, but it doesn't actually mean anything anymore.
Yeah.
It's not like if Kai and Callum were going up peak, I'd be like, I can't ride with you guys because you're skiers. I'd be like, hell yeah. Like,
absolutely. And all the borders are on Blackcomb now, which is pretty hilarious.
I never ride Whistler. I did when I was young, but as soon as I got into like steeper, like, I don't want to get into why I like Blackcomb more, because I feel like I could give it away, but I want more people to stay on Whistler so that when it snows, Blackcomb has less people. So
there you go.
It's just steeper.
Got to protect these things, Jody.
Yeah. Shit, did I already say too much?
Yeah. Words out, don't worry.
Okay, words out. Blackcomb steeper. Which, if any, snowboarders do you draw inspiration from?
Oh my gosh. It was really fun getting to film with Spencer O'Brien this year. Last winter. We were filming a movie called Continuum with Arc'teryx, and I got some days out with her and Elena, Robin, and yeah, those girls are just powerhouses. Like, Spence's turns are just like, they like take my breath away. I'm just like, so beautiful and like such style, but such power and strength. And
totally,
yeah, Elena too. And just the way that they view terrain. Like, Robin pointed out a few features that I was like, oh, cool, I'm gonna try that on my skis, and it just opens up a different world. So it's really fun to mix those two worlds.
Yeah, that trio that you just brought up, like, damn. Robin, who's throwing an event on for female snowboarders, research and development, and the winner of that whole contest gets to go to natural selection. Elena's riding big ass mountain shit, probably the best that I've ever seen. And then you articulated Spencer's snowboarding really well, because she's got this element of flow over the last couple of years that she's really developed, but she's got so much strength. Like her turns, like when she does a long drawn out heel side turn, she actually kicks up a bunch of snow because of the way she like locks her back leg, which I do those turns all the time and Spencer's look better.
Yeah, she's a powerhouse, that woman.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to put you through some snowboard trivia here because this is a snowboard podcast. So, you know,
no pressure.
Sink or swim here, Tatum. Here we go.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to fail.
Yeah, this is going to really boost or sink your cred. First person to hit the Hurley Road Gap.
Oh my gosh. I know this one too.
He's on the wall
it's
right
not Devin
there.
Walsh.
Yeah.
No.
Well, it was for snowboarding. It was Devin. Did a
Was
skier hit
it?
it first? This could be interesting if you knew your...
I think it was a snowboarder that hit it first. And
Yeah,
if
then
it
it's
was
Devin.
okay.
Yeah, Devin was the first snowboarder to hit it.
Respect.
But I did hear one time at Al Bush's, who's a sled owner guy in Pemberton. There was somebody in there, and somebody else was saying a skier hit it like way before. But I don't know if it was at the same point or whatever. But I'm chalking this up as a Devin. All right, number 2. Name one iconic snowboard jump south of Pemberton. Any snowboard feature that's south of Pemberton, or any snowboard feature, snowboard jump name.
What's that step down that you've hit?
Totally.
What's that one? I know it. I don't
with
hit
an
step
F.
downs because they scare the shit out of me. Give me another hint.
FOR.
Form.
Yeah, I almost got it there. I almost mustered it out there. The
My
forum
street
step
cred
down.
is just forum step down. I knew that.
Okay, this one's gonna be tough because I know that you know her. So, which pro snowboarder started an all-girls camp in the early 2000s?
I know her.
Yeah, it starts with an L.
Leanne?
Yes, correct.
Which camp?
MGT? I believe it's MGT.
What hasn't Leanne done?
Yeah, totally. She had an
She's-
all-girl snowboard camp for like 3 years on the glacier.
Amazing.
Yeah, she's done it all. Okay. Which female rode for Burton and rode Big Mountain and was one of the most influential snowboarders of the 90s?
Annie?
No, she had blonde hair. She lives in your neck of the woods.
Victoria? Yes.
It was.
She's a ledge.
Yeah, totally. She's like, I have a poster of her right there, Victoria.
Wow. She's incredible.
Victoria is the biggest ledge. That's a huge point right there.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'll take
huge.
that.
We'll chalk that up as you're winning right now. Okay, which pro snowboarder has a painting company called Cheeseburger Painting?
I don't know. I'm
Rube
going to just...
Goldberg.
Okay, yeah, I cannot.
He
Sorry.
lives in Pemberton.
I'm sorry. I should know. I should follow this more.
Okay, which female pro on Arc'teryx rode for Nike at one point?
Spencer.
Correct. How wide? Okay, this one's gonna be funny. How wide of a stance do most adult snowboarders run? 35, 28, or 22 inches?
I was going to say 32, so I'm going to go with 35.
35
Yes.
is your final answer?
Yeah. Yeah.
35 inches wide.
Is that really wide?
That's the widest stance.
Gorilla.
That's
Full
gorilla
on.
stance.
90s. Okay.
It's 22.
Okay. Yeah. See, people set my boards up for me, so I don't even know.
That's 3 feet.
Oh.
It's with quick math there.
Okay. Right.
3 feet
Yeah,
wide.
oh.
That's you doing the splits and riding down the hill.
So no one rides at 35. Okay.
Nobody has ever rode a 35-inch stance. Maybe somebody who's like 8'6".
You're setting me up for failure, Jody.
Totally. But that was amazing. That was a lot of people who are listening. That was the highlight of the podcast. So
I am gonna get so made fun of for this.
this is perfect.
I need another beer.
They're right over there.
God.
Okay, the final question. This one's going to be funny too because you're not going to get it.
Oh, God. You're setting me up for failure. It's so embarrassing.
I saw what you did to your boyfriend on April Fool's.
Yeah, I deserve this.
Yeah, you deserve this. Mm-hmm. Okay. A cab spin is described for what rotation? A cab 540. What would that be?
What do you mean? It's just a cab 540.
Yeah, but what are you doing?
A switch 540.
That's close enough. Totally. Switch frontside spin. Way to go. We're going to give you 100. Way to go. You passed. Congratulations. Snowboard trivia, a massive success.
All the boarders are like, we're tuning out.
Whatever. Okay, moving along here. You spent a lot of time in the mountains. A lot. I was wondering, who's the biggest mentor, Swiss Army knife, somebody that's just completely dialed like the wizard of, being in the mountains?
So really, I need to think about this.
Yeah, totally. There's just like those special individuals who've spent so much time out there that, could stick a wet thumb in the air and tell you what the weather's going to be tomorrow.
I mean, I feel like I lean on my filmers a lot, and I've had filmers that have like truly, I think, helped progress my career just by bouncing things off of them. And like, maybe they're like almost coaches to me in a sense. Like, I feel like I can like point out lines and get some feedback, and they help me pick the best weather days because they just have their finger on the pulse just as much, if not more, as me. And yeah, like Friedel Cody, I filmed with him. Shout out. He supported me so much. Like, I feel, he single-handedly like helped me progress my career. And
I feel like that's a huge one.
Yeah. And like a Leo Horn, like some of these filmers, like they spend so much time in the mountains, just as much time as the athletes. And yeah, just super grateful when I get to work with people that are so on it.
I mean, Leo was a really good pick. I've got to film with Leo since the beginning of his career. He used to make these edits. Me and a friend of mine, Matt Belzel, used to ride for this clothing company called West Beach, which Chip Wilson, who owns Lululemon, just rebought, and that was his first company he started. Just a cool little side piece there. But Leo would film those edits, and Leo was like, put down the camera, and he's a better snowboarder than you. He's one of those snowboarders, you know what I mean? He is such a good skateboarder, and he's such a good snowboarder. Like,
he's insane.
It's insane. Like, we would ride a pillow, and then he would film us on it, and then he would hit it after for fun, and we'd be like, damn, dude, I hate when the filmer's better than me.
I know, it's not allowed. It shouldn't be allowed.
No, I'm not going to hire you if you're somebody like Leo.
Yeah,
damn.
I really enjoyed filming with Jeff last season too.
Yeah.
He was really, really fun to be out with, and just to bounce ideas off of him about where I wanted to ride. He has a really good eye for terrain, so that was fun.
I feel like you need to trust your filmer a lot when you're the rider, and being able to communicate clearly and know that they're digesting what you're saying, and being able to have that like dance in that conversation just so that you both are on the same level.
So important.
Of understanding like is so crucial, especially in the backcountry. And I'm hitting jumps, step downs, and riding mini golf. You're riding big ass mountains like in Whistler, Pemby, Alaska, like huge things with massive consequences. And if you and your filmer aren't on the same program, maybe you ride the best line you've ever done, but they didn't get the shot because there wasn't communication.
That happened to me once.
Oh God, tell me more.
In Alaska. Yeah, it was.
Was it your fault or the filmers?
Not at all. To this day, it was the best line I've ever skied. Like, I threw a 3 off this little cliff at the top, and it was like somehow pulled it out of the bag. Like, was the first time I kind of incorporated a trick into a big kind of consequence line. Threw it right off the top, skied this, connected into the spine, skied down, got to the bottom, and was just like, didn't even feel like real life. Like, I felt like I was in a video game, and I was like, how, like, I just did that. Like, unbelievable. I was like buzzing, and then the heli came in and everyone landed, and the filmer stepped out, and he's like, yeah, I forgot to hit record. And I was like laughing, thinking he's joking. He's like, no, really, like, I'm really sorry I didn't hit record. I was like, what?
Oh, that happened to Pat Moore, who's on the snowboard side of things, and it was he flew home. He was filming for The Art of Flight, I'm pretty sure. One of those Travis movies. I can only imagine what that feeling is. You, like you were saying there, like video game flow state. You don't even feel like it's real.
Yeah.
You get to the bottom. You think everyone's going to get out of the bird and tackle you.
what I
and the
thought.
filmer's going to be like, Tatum, that was the best shot we've ever filmed, ever. Hey, we didn't film it. And you're like, yeah, okay.
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, it kind of gave me like a little bit of a reality check. I was like, kind of, I don't know. I stepped back and I was like, I don't do this for these shots. I don't do this just because there's a camera pointed at me. I skied that because I like truly wanted to, and I love skiing and I wanted to push myself, and I would have done it if the cameras were there or not. So it didn't really matter in that sense. But at the same time, I was like, that really could have been the opener for my part this year. So shoot.
Damn. But also like really cool thought process for you to have. Like, damn, we missed that clip, but there's nothing we can do about it. And why do I do this again? Because I love it. That seems like somebody, did that happen recently? Because I would imagine a young professional hungry Tatum, when that happens, like when I feel like those younger ages, like 18 to 24, you are only doing it for a clip, and you're kind of like missing the bigger picture. And it's until you get older and you kind of have some things in life happen, maybe some injuries you've had to overcome, where you really start to be like, why am I doing all this again?
This was 2016. This is my first trip to Alaska.
Did this by chance happen to be the trip where you got really injured and fucked your knee up?
That was the following year.
Oof.
Yeah.
That was a bad one. So the year before, maybe we'll touch on that. 2016, things are moving in your career. You touched on like flow state, feeling like you're in a video game. I've had some years where I've kind of felt where everything's kind of unlocked, and you almost feel like a little bit invincible, and like you're just going to land everything. And then you have one of those like reality checks where like, you know, something like an injury or life or whatever, something like stops you in your path. And I'm imagining that, you know, you go to 2017, you're feeling invincible, you're winning awards, you're getting new sponsorship deals, and it's just like, this is easy. I'm good at this. And when I do something and I do fall, I get away from it. You miss those, like, you know, you rolled by the tree, or you bounced off of the pillow and you missed the rock or whatever. And you're like, I'm invincible. And then what happened to you in 2017?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. A deep reality check is what happened. Essentially went to Alaska the year before, really like sunk my teeth into it. Felt like I was really understanding the terrain, and like the scale of the mountains there is just like nothing else. Like, I know you've heard that a million times, I'm sure, but it truly is. Like, it takes a few years, if not a lifetime to wrap your head around that. But I came into the second year with a lot of confidence, kind of thinking like, you know, I understand this AK scene now, and just didn't listen to my gut. My intuition is really what this whole lesson came down to for me. Like, I very vividly remember standing on top of this line I was going to ski and just thinking like, I know something bad's going to happen. I don't know how bad it's going to be, but I know, I know something's going to go down. But I was young at the time. I wasn't prepared to like get on the radio and call the heli back in because I had a bad feeling. Like that wasn't an option. So I was like, here we go. And as soon as I dropped in, I just like, yeah, I knew something was coming. I made a few turns. I hit an air that I thought was a lot smaller than it was, and landed straight on glacial ice. And immediately felt my ACL pop. It was like very loud, and I'm like, oh shit, I just blew my knee. But then it was my ski not coming off and tomahawking down the rest of the face for hundreds and hundreds of meters that did it all. Like I did my ACL, MCL, LCL, lateral medial meniscus, full bucket handle tear, partial PCL. I fractured my femur and my tibia. So it was like, essentially, yeah, my knee was not attached to my...
What is the extraction process? Like, when that happened, what happens? How do they get to you?
It was, so where I came to a stop it was still really steep, so the heli couldn't tow in because the blades would hit the snow. So the guide ended up skiing down to me, and he's like, "Just put your ski on," like ski down. And I was virtually blacking out, like I was screaming, just in this state of pain that I've never experienced in my entire life. And him telling me to put my ski on, I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. But he ended up dead manning me over his shoulder and skiing me down like 25 turns to like just a little bit flatter area of the slope where the heli could tow in. And my knee was stuck because my whole meniscus came out and it went into where my ACL should have been. So my knee was like locked at 90. And if I like stood up and let gravity try and straighten my leg, it was like 10 out of 10, like brutal. So ended up just like holding my boot to avoid that and getting in the heli, landing, and immediately the ambulance was there, and I actually ended up getting like a bunch of fentanyl injected up my nose, and that was crazy.
Like knockout, did it work?
Oh my gosh, yes. It puts you on a different planet. Like nothing matters. You were just so content. It's wild.
Oh yeah, those drugs are fucking insane. When I've done some big injuries before and they inject you with their big stuff, what might have been fentanyl, I don't even know. Sometimes I've been so loopy. I'm just like, yeah, whatever you got for the pain. Yeah. And then it's just gone. You're like, oh my God. If you're just taking that on the daily, you're like, I can't get why people are addicted to this shit. It's
just
perfect.
Gonna say that.
It's the devil.
It really is. But yeah, thank goodness for those drugs in a controlled environment, because that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but yeah,
time and a place.
That knee took me 2 years to come back from. Yeah.
I remember because I was living at Sean Pettit's house at the time, and he did his knee the following year. I think. How much? So you said 2 years off?
Yeah. So Sean he did his knee a few months after. Well, actually, we had surgery. I should say we had surgery in the same week because I saw him in the hospital. And then we did our rehab together in Vancouver, and I just remember being like so frustrated because I'd see him come in and make all this insane progress and like getting on the bike and doing full rotations, and I'd just be like stuck doing half circles for months on the bike. Just
and everybody's that's there, like, you know, you're talking to these Red Bull trainers or whatever, whoever they may be, and they're trying to get you in this mindset of like positivity, and you're like, motherfucker, like I can't even do a half turn on a bike. Like what does the mental game look like for 2 years when you can't even? Yeah,
I mean, so I should say I basically didn't ski for a year. And then the second winter I did get back in the mountains towards the end of the season, and I was so scared. I was just like, I'd be standing on top of just a mellow powdery slope that you would like just free shred rip any day of the week, and I was just like I was like shaking, nervous, and I was like, okay, so this mental side's gonna be way more of a battle than I even realized.
Maybe talk about if this is something that you feel is true to you, but like you can't really unlock that flow state that you had in 2016 where you were just killing it. You know, you rode that line, you 360'd into the line, and you rode the spine, and woo, filmer misses it. But like that feeling is like you ride your best when you do feel invincible. Like as you get older, you want to realize the risks involved in all that, but you do, when you drop in, you do want to drop into something where you're like, I am fully confident in myself and my ability and my team right now, and I'm going in and I'm 100% confident. And when you drop into a feature and you don't have that confidence in your ability or your team or something, that's when shit goes wrong. You can't ride properly when you're like riding in this like protective dome, you know what I mean? If you
it's dangerous.
It's so weird.
It's like, it's sketchy to be riding with hesitance too, because that's when accidents happen. Like I definitely learned from that injury to distinguish like good fear versus bad fear. So I only ride things now that I'm on top of, and like, sure, I'm nervous. I'm like, whoo, I am like fully puckered right now, but it's like a good nerve. It's not like I have a feeling deep down that something bad's gonna happen here, or like a nervous energy that I'm like so stiff and so scared. I know I'm not gonna flow the line anyway, so why ride it? Like I really only ride things that are fun for me now. It's great.
I think that intuition, a lot of people second guess it. Like they have a gut feeling and it's unique. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You're like, this is different than what I normally feel when I'm doing something of risk. And when you have that feeling, fucking listen to it. Because I've had that same feeling multiple times on different things, and that is exactly when shit goes wrong. Because you're way smarter than you think. Like, if you could go back right now, would you have called the heli back?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, in
so
a heartbeat.
You knew.
I knew. I thought maybe I'd like get off my line though and like blow the shot.
And you're younger too at that point. You said 2017 that happens. There is a feeling of like, was it with Matchstick? Who was it with?
I was filming for my own project at the time.
So, which is huge pressure.
Yeah.
And it's a blue sunny day and the filmer's out and the camera's ready and you're kind of like, there is that like, I don't want to let everybody down. Like there's a lot of energy and resources and money that's going into this moment right now.
Oh
like,
yeah.
I should just be like, I should just go.
This was the era as well where the helis would they'd fly to film.
The drones weren't popping
No,
yet.
there were no drones. So the heli's in the air, like the other filmers on the Barbie, my GoPro's on, and I'm just like, I want to win Female Skier of the Year. Like, let's go. Like, no, I'm just kidding.
But kinda.
But like,
on.
I was definitely in that state where I was trying to push myself as far as I possibly could. And yeah, you live and you learn. And I think just listening to those gut feelings is like a life lesson too. That goes with anything, like with people, like, oh, I gotta have like bad feeling about that one. Like, or like,
That's a good one.
yeah, just anything. I think sport, we're fortunate enough that sport teaches you a lot about life too. And you can take a lot of the same lessons.
Would you say that was the lowest point of your career skiing?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I should say I had a bad concussion a few years ago, and that was a different kind of low. That was scary, dark times for sure. Arguably tougher than a knee, because with a knee you can kind of, you do A, B, C, and D, and you're going to recover, and you follow a protocol and a training schedule, and you can get back at it. But with a concussion, there's a lot of shit that doctors still don't know. There's no protocol with a rule. There is, but there's no like follow this path and you'll get better with your head injury.
Every single degree, like let's say if you hit your head like on the side by your ear, but it's up like even the slightest, that's a different, unique concussion to anyone else in history. You know what I mean? And there is no way to be like concussions are so weird. The ones I've had have been like really, really difficult. The last one I had at Mount Seymour, well, I actually had a small one this year, but it was really small and I actually managed it well and it was gone within like a week. It was a little bit fuzzy. But then I had a bad one at Seymour and it was, was it fucking like, 3 days later, and then Chel's just, my fiance's talking to me and I'll start crying and I'm like, I don't know why I'm crying.
Yeah.
I don't want to be crying. I don't
So
understand why.
scary.
And you're like, well, why is this happening? And then it takes you so long to get out of this hole because you constantly are being like, is this how I normally think? I constantly was like asking myself that and being like, this isn't how you normally think. You think differently than this. Mm-hmm. So you're not okay right now. And then trying to get better, there's nothing that makes you feel better. I would lay on the floor and just listen to Beethoven like quietly and like lose my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was fucked.
I did a similar. I just stared at a white wall for like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I couldn't
do the
talk.
TV thing.
No TV.
No.
People walking in front of me would make me throw up. I was just like, no music, no
How
conversations.
How long did it take you to feel like? Do you remember to like get back on your feet?
It was like a month and a half. But I was in denial. I think like I hit my knee really hard on my face, and I was like, I don't have a concussion. I'm good. And then realized like really quick that I am so not okay. Yeah. And yeah, the dark room, sat in the dark room for I think a solid 2 weeks. And then it was a full month and a half. And then the first day I got back on skis, like I waited. I was like, I'm going to feel 110 before I'm back. Cause
that's a good.
Yeah. I know it'll happen. I'll get out there and like just want to ski something rad. And then if I'm not feeling 100%, I'll just get hurt again. So I waited. I was like, I'm going to be 110. And the first day I went back out, I was filming. It was the second year of filming for a big project. And I had my eyes on a line I really wanted to ride. The first line I skied was the Dino Back. It's like a famous skier line, I guess you could say, up the Hurley. I just gave away the spot, but
Nobody knows where the Dino Back is. Maybe a couple skiers.
Eric Horlifson first skied it. I mean, I feel like Andrew Hardingham may have wrote it. Like, it's one of those lines where
That
it's just
just
like,
put your cred through the. So many people right now are like, she doesn't know anything about snowboarding. Then you drop Hardingham. I mean, you are from Banff.
oh, I love Andrew. Yeah, he's such an OG.
He's the best.
But yeah, like a line that's just psycho and just so exposed and like you fall, you literally die type thing. And that was the first line I skied my first day back from my concussion. And I was like, I am back. This is it.
Damn.
It was like the best feeling ever.
Is that the line with the mass? If you're doing like kind of doing Barbie angle, you're looking straight up at it. Like Looker's right hand side is like shale rock,
Yes.
and you skip. That spine was
Yeah.
insane.
So that's now you
That's
know.
that's
There's a little
that's
skier
a
trivia for you, Jody.
that was badass.
Thank you.
That was fucking amazing. Maybe take us through that spine ride. That one you can't just. You know, there's certain years where that's not going to work out. And it's like
Totally.
it needs to fill in properly. You need stability to be a certain way. Like the pillows that after you got into your line, there's like a stack that you kind of have to navigate down. And if those don't fill in properly, it's just not doable.
Exactly. Yeah, I looked at that line for years and it's right off the sled road. I'd always throw binos on it. And I don't know, that day we went up there, I didn't have the full intention of riding it, but it just looked so perfect.
Screaming at you.
And you just like, when you know. And again, it's like that good intuition just like took over. And I was like, today's the day. And I was with Taylor and she's just like such a rock solid partner for me out there. Very supportive. And she doubled me up and I got on top of that thing and it's like completely convex. Like you can't even see your first turn. It's just totally blind. And you just know all the exposure that's below you. So I was like, whew, this is real. But I knew, I was like, I got this. And you want to ski it like on the spine. And like, that's the OG way. You can't be like too far into the gut. Otherwise,
you want to have some slough moving over the rock.
you got to play it. You
gotta
got to
play. I know what you're saying.
So I'm like, I'm going to get right up on that. And then you can kind of deke out at the bottom of the line. You can not hit the air. And I wanted to hit the air, but you always have your plan B. And I was like, oh, if it's bad snow or whatever, I'll just ride around it. But I got through like the cruxy exposure of that line. And then out the bottom, I was like, I'm for sure hitting the air. And just like teed it up and stomped it. And oh my gosh, it was, one of those lines you'll never forget.
Yeah, that line to me, we've talked about a bunch with our crew that apparently makes fun of you, the Man Boys, but we don't.
I love you guys.
Yeah,
it's all in good fun.
Yeah. I know that like, you know, Bo and Rasman and we all saw when you posted that line and we were like, holy, that is like anyone who was on the internet that day that saw that or saw your project, which was called
Passage.
I watched that before we recorded, by the way. It was really awesome that I really liked how you incorporated your dad and his dad and the whole story. There's been enough snow porn movies that I like to like get to know you. And before we were going to record, that was like the perfect movie and film to watch to get to like kind of know about like your lineage and everything like that. I thought it was really well done. So Passage, if you want to watch that, because that's the ender to that, right?
Yeah.
Thanks
for watching, Jody.
Yeah, that was banging.
Did
you help produce that too?
Yeah, I did.
That's a lot of work.
That was
How do you like doing that?
was a big project. Yeah, that was
Talk about mental game.
Oh, 100%.
Exhausting.
Like logistics.
You're like, wait, was the concussion that bad? Producing
Exactly.
is nuts.
No, I had some help.
Yeah.
For sure. Lots of support there, but a 2-year project and oh my gosh, so many moving parts, but so rewarding. Like I feel like once you start producing and working on your own personal projects, it's really hard to go back. Like to have all that creative freedom and get to really like pick how it looks and feels and sounds and all comes together is like, it's just really powerful.
We actually skipped over a Patreon question that I got for you from Jack Bosch. I believe I'm saying that right. Maybe right or wrong, but a bit of a backtrack here, but I think it kind of incorporates all the stuff we were just talking about. But he said if she could give a little bit of details around the process before riding a line and what would deter you from riding a line. You kind of spoke to that, but I feel like maybe there's
No, absolutely. I think I'm a very visual person. So I go out and I study that line and I like imagine myself riding it at least 10 times before I ride it. And it's everything, like as many details as I can place within that visualization, I'll incorporate. So if it's like, what will it feel like standing on top of that line? Like, will it be windy? How many turns down the line will I see? Like, where will the snow start moving? Where's the slough going to be traveling? Like, how can I avoid that? Just taking all the factors into consideration so that you have your plan A, B, and C, and D. And then just being like stoked to ride too. Like it goes back to that good nerve energy versus that like kind of like fully gripped. I'm not even excited or stoked to ride this. I'm so nervous. Like,
yeah, that feeling sucks.
Yeah. Don't do that anymore.
Yeah. It only like when you have that feeling, it only happens like a couple times throughout, well, an average person's life. Like we're action sports people who are doing that shit all the time. And it's like, I've only had that feeling probably 4 or 5 times. There's that feeling of pushing yourself, but it's like, I got this. And then there's that weird feel. It's eerie. Mm-hmm. Something's just off. It's just like, just pull off.
Yeah. When you know, you know.
Yeah.
Just don't be too proud.
Okay. How many markers when you're going to ride a line, how many markers do you kind of pick out? Let's say if you're going to ride like a big AK line, if there's like 10 crucial points, is 12 too many and you're like, that line's too complicated? Like, how many for you can you digest?
I don't like to busy it too much. If I do, then I'm not flowing it. Like I want to pick like 3 or 4 major landmarks or points that keep me connected within that line. So I'm like, okay, I know exactly where I am. So I go from point A to B and I'm like gonna shred as best as I can between those 2 points. And then when I get to that point, I'd have my next point. So it's like planned, but you're still flowing. And
good approach. I like that.
Yeah. Otherwise it's like I've definitely picked too many markers and then you're just like making too many turns and not riding with flow.
So overcoming that knee injury and concussion, what would you say is your go-to for pressing the reset button? You know, when you hit those lows.
Baking. 100%.
I mean, hell yeah. If that's what makes you happy.
Absolutely. Like,
are you serious right now? Is baking?
I am dead serious, Jody. Like,
how many cakes when you had like, you know, you get your concussion and then the loaves just start going, eh?
100%. Or just like food. Like, I love cooking. That's what hunting brings me so much joy, is like being able to bring that game into the kitchen and like make a big cozy meal for all my friends or my family. Like nothing is more rewarding to me than that. And like the kitchen is like my meditation space too, like especially with baking, because everything's so particular. But I'm not even kidding. That's my my rehab.
That's the reset button for you.
Yeah.
Hey, I think that like there's definitely something therapeutic about like cooking. I just don't do a good job at it when I'm in a rush. I like when I have some time so I can put on some like shitty, like, you know, what kind of cooking music I'm gonna, like if I'm gonna cook, I kind of normally look into like, you know, if I'm making Mexican, I type in like Mexican cooking dinner playlist, and then I like everything to be spotless in the kitchen, and then I start cooking, and it's like a vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If the kitchen is messy and I don't have a lot of time, I hate cooking. I'm gonna ask my fiance to do it, or I'm gonna go out.
Fair enough.
That's me. But you seem to just cook, and cook.
I love it, honestly.
Do you eat out a lot, or would you rather eat your own cooking?
I'd rather eat. Like, I 100% would rather eat my own meat. Damn. Yeah, like especially with the game meat.
What's the game on the table? What game? What's a staple dish? A Tatum.
A good bolognese.
A good bolognese?
Yeah, with
what
like
kind of meat?
Elk is what I got this year. So been doing a lot of elk. My boyfriend got a deer and a bison as well. So no
bison
shortage
burgers.
of protein. Yeah, we do burgers a lot. Smash burgers.
How many freezers do you have?
3.
3, and then
Big
they're
chest
full.
freezers.
So you have a bison, you said, a deer, and you got
An elk.
an elk. So 3 between the two of you. How long does that last?
So I should say I gave half my elk to my hunting partner. And then my boyfriend gave half of his bison to his hunting partner. And then we have our full deer. So I got that elk in the fall and we're almost done. We have like maybe 25 packs left.
That's insane. Like, okay, let's break this down because everybody's trying to save money. You know, is hunting fairly expensive to get into? Because I personally hate the idea of eating shitty meat from the grocery store, and it's getting really hard to find good meat. Like when I go back to Winnipeg, my mom's really good friends with like the local butcher.
Yeah.
It's hard to find a butcher out here.
100%.
And so I'm eating occasionally shitty meat from the grocery store. So I kind of stopped doing that over the last couple of years. And I'll pay a premium to get good meat. But to stock your freezer, you said from the fall until now, after one kill, that seems worth it.
If you broke it down, the game is 10 times the price.
Hunting is 10 times the price?
Oh my gosh. It is like, especially if you factor your time.
Plot twist. I did not expect that.
This is a super interesting topic, but like game meat is priceless, but like just the energy and the time that goes in to these hunts is like invaluable. I mean, if you broke it down, the meat is priceless, but it's like, it is such a labor of love. The hunt is like, and it's also not a guarantee. So you could put everything into it and not be successful, which has happened many years. But 2 years ago, my partner and I, we hunted hard and we didn't get anything. We were buying meat all winter, and it's a
what
little
does
bit
that feel
of a
like
blow.
when you come home empty-handed? Is it a bummer? Do you guys curse the whole way home, or are you guys still like, that was so much fun?
Well, I should say I'm a relatively new hunter, and then my boyfriend Tommy, he's a bow hunter. So
that seems like a like level 4.
yeah, he's choosing the hard path. Like we could have definitely.
Oh, instead of a gun, he's using a bow and arrow.
Yes.
Old school.
Yeah, full like a compound bow.
What a legend.
Yeah, which is very not conducive to the coast. Like there's a reason why not like really no one bow hunts on the coast, just because it's like our forests are so thick. We're in a rainforest here, so the sight lines are very tight. We could have shot a couple bucks that year, but he's got his arrow. It's gonna deflect off a lot of shit.
How many kills has he gotten with the arrow? Like, has he gotten like 10 or like 4 his whole life?
No. Like that's what I'm saying. He shot a blacktail last hunting season with his bow, local to Pemberton, and I don't know anyone else that's done that.
Damn. So he's kind of a ledge.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
like
so
we had
sick.
a couple of the OG guys, like I saw firsthand, like they'd laugh in his face and be like, good luck there, bud, like with your little bow and arrow. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely nothing against rifle hunting. I personally hunt with a rifle. I also have a bow, but yeah, 2 very different pursuits. Archery is finite.
Like, if you're gonna go on a hunting trip, is it just like, let's go for a Friday, or is it like a whole thing where you have to set it up with like the season and then you go for like 5 days?
So I drew an LEH, which is a lottery tag for my elk, my Squamish River Valley elk. And that the odds of me drawing that tag, I put in like with, I don't know the exact number, but it's the second hardest tag to draw in BC.
So do you mean draw? Do you mean like that's what you're allowed to hunt for?
Yeah. So at this time every year, you can like put in for certain areas. You can be like, I want to hunt elk up Squamish River Valley. I want to hunt a moose up north, but they only allot a certain amount of tags for those areas where it's kind of confusing, but there's also general tags. So there's like your general blacktail or mule deer tags. which anyone can go out and just buy that over the counter. It's like $6 or something. But the like real prestigious ones are like these bigger game animals in certain areas like the Squamish River Valley. And I put in for that this time last year as like a Hail Mary. Like I'll never draw this, but whatever, I'm going to try. And I like logged into my Hunt BC account and it said successful in green. And I was like, you're kidding me.
So it's like winning the lottery kind of.
I won the lottery.
Nice.
Like people put in for this tag their whole life and they don't draw it.
Wow, congrats.
Thank you.
Way to go.
Yeah. So
a little thing called manifestation.
100%. So to answer your question, for a hunt like that, that's like, yeah, we'll go out and have our wall tents and be out there for a week to 2 weeks. Come back.
A week to 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So you're bringing like charcuterie board, you're bringing some snacks.
We're truck camping, so we're living pretty good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Truck camping, meaning in the truck, or do you have like a camper?
We have, I don't have a camper. I used to have a camper. I'd want to get a camper, but we're roughing it. I was just in a tent, and then my hunting partners were in a wall tent. And our goal was to be out for 2 weeks, come back, get supplies, and then I had from October 10th to November 1st to fill that tag, and I would have hunted all the way through if I had to, but I filled the tag in 7 days.
So like, is it like you're bringing 280 beers for the 2 weeks, or is it more like hunt all day, go to bed, get up at 6 a.m?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like sledding and filming.
Exactly.
It's like
I was just gonna say,
yeah.
It's like
it's the real deal.
You're enjoying yourself, like you're having a couple beers by the fire at night, but filling that tag was like the biggest goal for me.
You mean like, and then killing?
Sorry, when I say filling the tag, yes, I mean like killing the elk.
Yeah.
Being successful in that hunt.
And was it with a rifle?
Yeah.
And you shot it?
Yes.
Was it a one shot done deal, or did multiple?
Oh my goodness. Do you want to hear this whole hunt story?
Hell yeah.
So
I'm all for hunting as long as people eat every speck of that animal. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Of course.
Oh, that is.
It's like it's more normal than what we're doing right now.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's so many people that are like, hunting, and then they go out for chicken fingers or whatever at McDonald's. You're like, you got this all wrong.
Oh my gosh, no. So important to do justice to these animals. And I mean, I think hunters have more respect for nature and animals than your average person. Like,
people who spend time in nature often respect that a lot more than people who spend no time in nature.
Oh, absolutely. And like to hunt elk, you essentially have to turn into a Roosevelt elk to hunt a Roosevelt elk. Like you are like so immersed in their environment. Like I'd be like crawling on all fours.
Do you have camo
smelling
on your face?
Dirt. Like,
tell me you got camo on your face.
Some elk, a lot of archery elk hunters do that, but no, it's that's like kind of kooky status.
Oh,
like,
is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, unless you're doing an archery elk hunt.
Oh, okay. I like it. What else is kooky in hunting? Like, is there like bad looks? Do you know how like there's like stee in skiing and stee in snowboarding? Is there like a stee way to hunt?
Not at all. In fact, like the biggest OGs are like, actually some local Pemberton boys drew that same elk tag and they like came running by our camp and they stepped out of their truck and I was expecting them to be in like full camo and taking themselves pretty seriously like I do out there. They stepped out in like cowboy boots and blue jeans.
A Zoo York hoodie.
No, they were like full cowboys, like just like.
That's dope. Yeah,
and they were successful as well in filling their tag. So really, really cool. And I think that's like the best part about hunting. It's kind of like tricky to get into, but once you find your way, it's like anyone can do it.
What do you like more? Because you're really into fishing as well. Do you think that in the short to long term, you'll become more of a fisher woman or a hunter woman? What's the word for that?
People say huntress, that's a kook thing.
Huntress? Oh, like the wife of a hunter?
No, it's just like a female hunter.
Oh.
Huntress.
I would just call you a hunter.
Please.
Yeah. Nice one.
Yeah, but no, I think fishing and hunting are for me. Like those are two passions that I just do for myself, and skiing, I'm fortunate enough to also call my job and my career, but I never want to make hunting and fishing that. I want to keep those things for me.
I like that. Like, is it the act of being in nature? Is it time away from skiing? Is it time away from just being in Pemberton? Like, what draws you into fishing and hunting?
I think it's like there is nothing you can do that makes you more present in the moment than hunting. Like,
very well said.
Nothing. It's crazy. Like, all senses are engaged. Smell, sight, hearing, like
if you hear like a stick break, are you like, you're in tune to that, and you're like,
Jody, yes, right? Yeah, like you are like, all senses are firing.
You're like a Navy SEAL.
100%.
But like, the deer's not going to shoot you.
Yeah. But so when I got my elk, we still hunted, meaning like you take one step, you stand and you watch and you look for 10 minutes. You take another step, you stand and you watch. It takes like 6 hours to travel the length of a football field. Like, you are moving at a snail's pace.
Does anybody just not do that approach and just like mobs through the woods?
You'll just blow them all out. The herd will hear you like way before you put eyes on them. They'll run out of there and you'll never get a chance.
I always think that all animals and all insects are way smarter than than we could possibly imagine. It's like you tune into these, whatever they're called, animal planets. I always laugh at these things because there's like some new scientist that's like, we finally figured out why deers do this. And I'm like, in 20 years or in 100 years or in 200 years, you're going to find out that you knew nothing about deer.
Yeah, right.
And they're way smarter than you think. Or like whales and stuff like that. Like,
orcas,
we understand something about the animal, and then we think we know everything about that animal. It's like, they're probably a lot more complicated than we can understand. I get that we can understand a bit of it, but like, I don't know, like when I see like a frog and stuff like that, I'm like, there's a lot more going on to that thing than we can probably put together.
The level of intelligence on that amphibian.
Like, maybe not a frog, but come on.
No, I hear you. I hear you. Yeah. I have so much respect, like I said, for these animals. And
like an eagle, come on.
Oh my gosh.
Like what we know about an eagle in 100 years, and be like, damn, eagles are way smarter than I like.
For sure. For sure.
When I see an eagle at the top of a tree, I'm like, that thing has it figured out. Like, it just chills all day, and then it sees a motherfucker from like 2 kilometers away, and it's like, boom, right into the water, grabs the fish out of it, and just goes and hangs out on a tree again and looks like gorgeous.
Natural freedom.
What a life. Natural freedom. Shout outs to Dom.
Love that hat.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's you can find these hats online somewhere. My fiance's girlfriend makes these, and she does awesome stuff with women, and I don't actually know what she does. She gets groups of women together, and then they do things that they wouldn't that they would most likely be intimidated to do. So she takes, I feel like there's like she'll get a group of girls together to go like fishing or hunting or horseback riding, but like often those things to girls, especially in cities and stuff like that, just seem like too intimidating to even try.
That's so awesome.
So yeah, it's super cool.
Shout out to that. I'd love to get involved.
Yeah, totally. You hear that, Dom?
Yeah.
She I think she listens to these things. I don't know. Back to the deeper level thing, because I love this. This is why I selfishly said I wanted to get you on the podcast, because I like this stuff. What does like an extended period of time in nature do for you when you come back to like the homestead? Like, what do you get out of that whole experience?
Honestly, like a reintroduction to society after being in nature for an extended period of time is hard. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh.
You checked your Facebook? You're like, fuck, I'm back.
Yeah, 100. Like, phone starts ringing, emails start coming. Oh my gosh.
Scrolling on Instagram. You're like, what am I doing?
Reality, right? No, I think just, for me, being out in nature is just my happy place, like my true, genuine happy place. And like I said, when you can be a part of a pursuit that is just like all senses engaged, it's the most dope feeling. Like you were basically like morphing into an animal when you're hunting those animals. You are becoming an animal. And all of a sudden you come back into society and you're like, oh, Yeah, it's pretty lame here, actually.
Like, I'm gonna go back to the river.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, no, it's definitely my happy place. And, you know, when I first started hunting, I had this like misconception. I was like, man, everyone needs to do this. Like, if you're going to eat meat, you need to hunt. You need to know where your protein's coming from. And that was a very ignorant kind of viewpoint I think I had in those early days, just because it's like hunting is a privilege and it's a luxury. And like most people can't afford to take a week, 3 days, 2 weeks off of their everyday life and their job. Totally. And they live in a city, and to acquire a rifle or a bow, or that's, yeah, the gas to get into the mountains. Like, I mean, even the other day I was gassing up at the Petro to go sledding, and there was four Asian guys jumped out of this big jacked up pickup in full camo, and they were like, oh, nice motorcycle, on the back of my truck. I'm like, oh, it's a snowmobile, but thanks for asking. But they were going bear hunting, and they were like just buzzing, like they were on just cloud 9 in excitement for their day. And I'm like, wow, so much respect. You guys are here at like 5:30. You left the city so early. Like, go and get after it. It's awesome.
Yeah. I always say this quite often on the podcast, but I always feel like people who spend more time in nature contribute more to the overall well-being of society. I think that, like, because you understand the importance of it, and you get like, it's just, the ego comes from like the society we've structured in like inner cities. I think, like, why would you have an ego if you like when you're hunting? You know what I mean?
I couldn't agree more.
It just gets rid of all that, and you're just like, oh, we're all one out here, and you sit on a rock, and then your phone doesn't work, and you're like, this is kind of nice to just listen to the river. That's what I've been doing lately. I've been walking the dog, and I've been walking it beside moving bodies of water. That noise is fucking. That's got to do something way deeper than we can like really put our fingers on.
The
like,
white noise is so good for the brain.
Oh my God. Anyone who's ever had a concussion is all about that. Like, I was by the ocean at that point. I was living in Victoria while I had my last bad concussion. I would just go and sit by the ocean, close my eyes, and that fucking noise is just, it's just
so good.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. I feel like another big touch point for you, and for anyone who's listening, is people struggle to piece together their lives in a way that's like fun and exciting, and to like turn their passions into like maybe their job or whatever. Do you recommend that you turn your passions into your job? Or what's kind of the pros and cons of doing that? Because you did that with skiing, and you haven't done that with hunting, fishing. And, you know, maybe touch on that. Yeah,
no, that's such an interesting question. But ultimately, I would say, like, hell yes, turn your passions into your profession. Like, that's the dream, right? And I still pinch myself. Like, you asked me what my dream job was as a kid. Like, it was to be a professional skier. And here I am. And that's amazing. I will say, in turning your passions into your profession comes a weird there comes some weirdness to that as well. Like, you know what I mean? It's all of a sudden like you need to take this reality check, and I definitely had to take that, and at one point in my career, just like a little step back of like reevaluating why I do what I do. And really that came down to like skiing is in my blood, it's in my DNA. My grandfather was a professional skier, my dad, my aunts, my uncles, and like I absolutely love doing what I do. And whether I'm paid for that or not, I'm going to be doing it. So if I can make a career out of it, like, hell yeah.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people get it a little bit skewed, that they think that if you become a pro skier, a pro snowboarder, you follow your dreams and you do that thing that you love so much and you turn that into your job, that's kind of the answer. Like, you're like, oh, then I'll be in the utopia and I'll be happy forever.
Right.
But just knowing that that's not the answer either. There's negative things to being a professional athlete.
There's a lot of pressure.
That we're kind of like hiding under a rock that you never even understood when you were just a kid dreaming about it.
Right. 100%.
And I think like your whole perspective that you have on being like, the gist of what I'm getting from a lot of this conversation is I think that if skiing was to end tomorrow, you would be in a place where you'd be able to like digest that. And I think that a lot of people, when you don't find other passions in life and you just stick to just skiing and that ends, you don't have any, like, you love, like, you genuinely fucking love baking.
Yeah.
Like, you're not fucking lying.
No, I think it's so important to have other passions and even hobbies, just things that you love. And I've been I'm not going to drop what I'm working on yet because it's not there, but I'm definitely want to start a little business this summer. Kind of try to get it off the ground last summer. I realized business is pretty hard, but that's all spurred from passion. And it's like, it's what I'm working on is something that I'm just like genuinely just fired up on. And it kind of brought me back to those early stages of my ski career, just being like, just figuring out what's next or working on other projects or passions. It's so important to have that. And I think if you follow those things that like truly like ignite that inner flame and fire you up, like you can't go wrong.
You mentioned before that you you are a visual person. You like to visualize before you ride lines. Did you use visualization for like your life?
I've definitely at times, like, this is gonna sound kind of trippy, but I've visualized myself in like third person. So I've like
love that
stepped back and like imagined exactly. Have you done this too?
Well, if you are an avid listener of this podcast, I talk about that often.
No way.
Yeah, the whole fact of like pulling back. Like I had my good friend Andrew Jeeves on here.
Okay.
And we were talking about, and he's just smashing the shit out of addiction right now. But I told him that like to pull out and like look at yourself like you're the main character in a movie. And like, would you tell this character like they're killing it right now? Should they get off the couch? Should they break up with that person? It really helps you navigate your life because it like you zoom out. I love the zoom out.
I can't believe you know this. That's so cool.
Cheers to us.
Cheers to that. That's amazing. I think that's a really cool way to gain perspective, and it's a little tool that I've definitely used at times where I'm like, man, I'm lost, or like the struggle's real for me right now. What would I do if I wasn't me? If I was like controlling me, or if I had that bird's eye perspective, what moves would I make?
100%.
It helps to detach. And yeah.
Oh, 100%. If you zoom out and you see yourself scrolling on your phone, gaining weight and doing nothing, and the whole world is moving by you, would you see that individual and be like, man, that person has way more to offer this world than just sitting there? And you probably would zoom out and be like, damn, I got to get to living. Because I don't know about everybody else, but since COVID, I've started to realize that time is flying by.
Oh, yeah.
It's like this weird thing. I don't know if the clock's actually spun up or something like that, but I think it is. Because I'm like,
it must be, honestly.
I'm like bumping into old friends and they have gray hair now. And I'm like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, no, we're getting to that age. And I think it's good to put a perspective on things and to be super appreciative of all the things that we've accomplished and achieved. But I think it's really important to keep the flame burning and like scare yourself every day.
Back to the scare.
Yeah, do something that's hard each and every day.
Well, maybe we could touch on current inspirations. What you're inspired by right now, what's motivating you right now, what's kind of burning inside of your oven.
Yeah, business. Honestly, like
business, Tatum.
Yes,
oh,
yeah.
Shit.
So like I mentioned, I have just an idea, something that's kind of been sitting with me for a couple years now, and that I'd really like to pursue, and it has to do with starting a little business and just having fun with it. I want to start small, but I can't speak too much about it right now. But yeah, I think that's what it's all about. Life is like, got to keep things interesting and keep progressing and challenging yourself. And that's certainly what starting this little business has been doing for me.
The first step will seem hard, but any man who's ever climbed a mountain knows that there's lots of steps to the top of the mountain.
Truer
Quote.
words have never been spoken.
Quote, Airtime podcast. It's just like the worst quote ever. Where do you see yourself in 15 to 20 years?
Oh my gosh, living on a big plot of land with like horses and chickens and donkeys and a garden and
Nice.
so cliche, but that's me.
All right. These are 10 questions presented by Skull Candy. You can grab yourself a pair of headphones there if you would like, right over here.
Amazing.
Yeah, way to go. They're the rail headphones from Skull Candy. They're wireless. They're great. And you can listen to them when you're not hunting. Because now we've learned when you're hunting, you actually have to use all your senses, which includes hearing. So you're not going to want to use those hunting. But you can use them when you come back into society and you want to block everybody out.
Just play cue river music.
Cue
White
Shania
noise.
Twain. All right. Big shout outs to Skull Candy for supporting the show.
Thank you for these.
Yeah, no worries. We got to do a little bit of a backtrack here. We went over your 2 injuries. Typically, when we talk about injuries on the podcast, we give that person a Scandinav spa pass because it was probably a bad time. So big shout outs to the Scandinav Spa for supporting the podcast. Have you been before?
I have.
Do you like it?
Oh my gosh. Are you kidding me? I was thinking the other day, I was like, I really want to go to the Scandinav. It's the best. It's
What's
such a
your
reset.
What's your favorite thing there to do?
The cedar sauna.
The Cedar Sauna, which is located right in the middle.
Yes.
Yeah, I like the
So
Cedar
nice.
Sauna as well. Do you go top tier, middle, or bottom?
Top.
Yeah,
and I'm
totally
one of
top.
those people that just benches out, like lays
Oh yeah, totally.
fully out on the top. I'm
Feet
like,
on the ceiling just
Yeah.
to stretch. Yeah, totally.
That's me.
And then I go to eucalyptus. I'm the eucalyptus guy.
Beautiful.
I mean, it's a beautiful scent. So you can enjoy that in those
Oh,
headphones.
wow.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you,
And thanks
Jody.
to our sponsors for supporting the podcast. All right. Best style currently and back in the day.
Ooh.
You can say skiers. It's fine.
Candide. Thovex.
Yeah,
You know who Candide is, right?
I do. I'm not under a rock.
100%. That's a no-brainer. Bar none.
Full stop. Like best style now and back in the day.
Yeah.
Just end.
All out.
Okay.
Best, maybe the best that ever did it.
Wicked. I like that. What's the skier's name? I believe he was Asian, and he like hopped around on his skis all crazy in the 60s.
Oh.
That's my guy.
What is his name?
I want to see Jerry Lopez, but that's a surfer. I'm like, no.
Oh, no. It'll come to
I
me.
feel like you should know this.
I should. This is another trivia question.
He rode for Uvex goggles. I'm pretty sure you could Google it because you have that phone and because you're in service.
Because we have the internet on our fingertips. See, this is one thing, though, that I feel like we need to get away from is like every time we need an answer, we just grab our computer, our little pocket computer. It's like,
You mean your robot that's with you that you haven't at this point called your personalized robot that you have with you 24/7.
exactly. It's become a crutch. And
Oh,
it's like,
100%. I don't even
the amount of times I'm mid conversation with someone and they're like, oh, just let me like get the answer. I'm like, it's all good. I don't really care that much. Like, we can just continue to riff and raff. Just like, oh.
It is true. I'm that person. If I'm having a conversation, I literally stop somebody and I'm like, they're like, if we're talking about, even about snowboard, anything, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I think that board came out in 1997 or whatever. And I'm like, whoa, let me look. They're like, you don't need to look at it. I'm like, oh, it came out in 2001. They're like, the conversation's ruined, our flow's ended, and now it's like,
Right?
you just went on your phone and you ruined everything.
You're going to be way more mindful of this moving forward. I guarantee you're going to be like, oh, I'm
not.
doing it again.
100%. My goal is to blow this podcast up and like hire a bunch of people, have a big, awesome snowboard action sports thing that I'm really proud of that represents snowboarding most importantly, tastefully, and gives people opportunity through video and stuff like that or whatever. But I also want to like incorporate that new school thing where you eventually you have a big staff and it's like not all about the business. You know what I mean? You do retreats with people, you go hunting with them.
Cool.
You know, it's not full time. Maybe it's like 30 hours a week, but you pay them for 40. And I'm just going to do that to fuck with all those other companies out there that are just like, brrr. Like that's
That's awesome.
hopefully.
That's a great goal.
But it's a good goal.
You got
But now
that.
if I don't do that and you run into me and you're like, hey, I ran into Terry who's working for you and he's doing 50 hours a week and he's really tired.
And
he
he's
could use a break.
underpaid and upset. Like,
I don't know how everything's going to unfold here, but like that's my goals. We need goals.
I believe in you, Jody.
Okay. Gnarliest big mountain skier of all time.
Honestly, probably Kai.
He is insane.
He's insane.
Yeah, Kai, we are going to get you on the show for the record. I've been trying to do a podcast with Kai for years. He's just been busy.
That's who comes to mind for me.
All right, most underrated.
I feel like there's so many kids out these days that I'm like, wow. If you
Yeah.
came along 5 years ago, yeah, you would have had her made. But it's so competitive now that it's tough. But like Jordy Kidner, he's a kid from the Rockies. Incredible shredder. He just got his real estate license because I think,
It's
paying
tough.
the bills, skiing's hard. So he made a little bit of a transition there. But man, that kid just like dances on skis. He's insane.
Maybe we can speak to, or you can speak to, the boom in the last 5 years of male and female influencers coming into the action sports industry. I think that it's heavier on the female side, with less opportunity getting pushed towards real athletes and a lot of that money getting dished out to influencers. I was just wondering if you would like to speak on that, being somebody who has, paid their dues and has grinded their way to the top and has stood on the top of the mountains and had that gut-wrenching feeling and has filmed the video parts and didn't know the speed for the jump and had to go through all of this process to finally, be on brands like Arc'teryx and, your whole slew of sponsors, Skidoo, etc., but has, paid her dues. And then there's people that are just, beautiful that just end up getting a lot of that budget, and would love for you to speak on that, and I'll stop rambling.
No, it's such an interesting topic.
Right.
I'll share a quick story about that. I had a sponsor, I won't name which one. I had the best season I could have had. Like I won best female performance, best line of the year. Like I just couldn't have done better with my season, and was just like, surely I'll have a raise after that. And when it came time to renegotiating my contract, the sponsor told me they couldn't sign me for as much. They had to sign me for less because they had a new athlete coming on to the team. And I was like, great. Like, I'm all in support for another female in this space. Who is it? And when they named the person, they weren't an athlete at all. They were a model and an influencer, and like not somebody that had progressed the sport in any sense.
Damn.
And I straight up told the sponsor that I would leave them if they couldn't at least pay me the same amount of money that they did, because that was like extremely unfair, and that the way that the industry was going just didn't make any sense. And like I really put my foot down and told them that I think it's like awesome if the brand wants to work with that individual, and I have nothing against that. But if they want to put her in a catalog or bring her on to photo shoots to do her job as a model, like her profession and her career, that's one thing. But if they want to sign her as an athlete, like that's straight up offensive to me and other people that are pushing themselves and progressing the sport. Like it, not the direction we need to go in.
Maybe you could speak, because you spend a lot of time with top tier female athletes, like the best in the world from many different industries. Like what's the general consensus between females when someone gets the same level of opportunity but skips the 15-year grind and just gets the opportunity?
I mean, you're either, at the end of the day, you're either an athlete or you're not. And these influencers that are being brought on as athletes, like that's where it really chaps me. And other females that are like working really hard in that space. And
because it's a grind.
Absolutely. Like, it firsthand. We've dedicated our lives to be where we're at within our sport and sacrificed everything to get here. And then when you have someone that comes along who's got hundreds of thousands of followers that is all of a sudden in a similar position, it's like, you didn't earn shit. Like,
Totally.
what a weird world.
And then you put them on a pedestal, and then they get, like, let's say, just for shits and giggles, you know, Times Square, you know what I mean? They get a big billboard posted up to those individuals in New York that are walking by this massive billboard. They're like, they don't know the difference, you know what I mean? So if they put your face on there or that other female, it's a weird ripple effect, because then they start looking at that female that's on the billboard as inspiration. And then if they're getting inspired by that person and they follow them and everything like that, they're not getting inspired by the right individuals. They're getting like misled. Where if you had that billboard instead of that person, and then somebody from New York or wherever started following you, they're actually following a female who had a journey of actually becoming an athlete, which is actually inspirational.
Right. You got to keep it real. And it's a scary direction. I think it's balancing out.
I think it is.
More and more within the ski and snowboard industry.
I think they panicked for a bit. I think they panicked. I think every company was like, we need influencers. And then I'm not saying that there's not male influencers. There are. But like, there's a lot more female influencers. And the female space, especially in action sports, is finally getting put on the right level, where it seems to be getting like 50-50 finally. Mm-hmm. But for any female that was before 2021, they have been grinding it out for that space. And then for someone who never had to grind to just get that space, it irritates me. It does. Because I've seen my girlfriends who have slept with us in shitty hotel rooms with a banged up knee with no clips on a 2-week trip, wondering if they should just quit and go back to school. And then they keep pushing forward. And that's fucking inspiring.
Mm-hmm. So important. But it drives me nuts when people are like, but aren't you an influencer? It's like, because I have a following or whatever on social media. It's like, hey, I suck at social media. Like, I'm in trouble like all the time from my sponsors that want me to post. I'm trying to get better.
You're not an influencer. You film video parts.
Exactly.
Like,
I'm not.
You're a professional skier who also hunts and fishes, who posts those two things.
And I share
because you enjoy them.
Exactly. And I share those things because
you're not an influencer. I'll say it here, and I have more credibility than anybody. I don't, but I have a podcast. So
yeah. It's like, it's an interesting direction, but I'm happy to see that I think it is balancing out.
Okay, other than influencers taking over the world, what's one thing that keeps you up at night?
Honestly, I sleep pretty well.
Okay.
I sleep well at night.
Hey, I'm a good sleeper too. Doesn't mean I don't go to bed 15 minutes before, just trapped in a blanket of anxiety. Yeah,
no, I think it's just, for me, I'm always like wanting to progress, and sometimes I am my worst critic. And it's like that with me in skiing and sport, but also just like in life. Like, I'm like, I'm not doing enough. I'm not, like, who am I? And it's so important to just like have that reality check of like, we don't always need to be like killing it. We don't always need to be like performing at a 10. It's like, this year I skied more for myself than I ever have. In 10 years, I was just like in the mountains having fun and like lapping the resort with friends. I was like, what a concept.
Yeah. But you also deserve to do that. You're in a position where, you know, when you have like a career where you've been in the game as long as you can get to that point and you can take some time off. Like, so in fact, I like when sometimes like a pro that's been in the limelight for a long time kind of takes a bit of time to just like rebuild their brand, you know what I mean? And re-look at who they are and then come back, because like there's eventually, if you just keep doing the same shit, even your sponsors are burnt out on it. Like 100%. It's definitely more inspiring for a sponsor to stick with you. If a sponsor picked you up originally as somebody who they truly think is like a creative and is like a smart individual, like obviously there's some people who are only used for the purpose of skiing. But there's other people, and I'm going to shamelessly shout out my homie Sean Pettit here, but like he is in 5 to 10 years, what he's going to be doing is going to be so creative and so interesting. And it's like people who tick at he loses. That homie thinks so fast and comes up with so many great ideas. It would be insane if you were one of his sponsors to be like, nah, he's just like not skiing as much as he used to. It's just like he could be doing a lot more. Like he's going to be doing a lot of cool things. And there's a lot of people, I think, that once they're done their action sports stint, that actually have a lot that they could still give to those brands. That's just maybe not skiing a big line, but there's a lot more that they can still bring to the table. For example, you ride for a company like Arc'teryx. You know, you're fishing, you're hunting, you are the outdoors. That's what that brand stands for. You also have like great style. I've heard from people that you can bake. No, but you also do stuff with like clothing and stitching and design and stuff like that. So there's a way more multifaceted brand behind Tatum than just the skier.
Thank you, Jody. Yeah, I think it's so important. And I too take a lot of inspiration from Sean. I think he's a classic example of like, you don't have to just do the same thing. Like he's a skier, then he's a snowboarder, and then he's like creating huts in the high alpine, and then he's like selling stumps in art galleries in New York City. Like
I am living for Sean Pettit right now.
It's fucking
like,
awesome. And it's
keep going.
It's like it's an example of just following your passions and like that inner light of like, what is it that is fueling my fire right now, and just following that. Like he does that really well.
I remember
really
living
cool.
with him. That did not come easy for him though. He had a 2-year period, which I don't want to speak too much on his behalf, but that were like probably the hardest I'm imagining of his life, after being like, I'm Sean Pettit, the pro skier, and I just have to stay with that. But you could see he didn't want to do that anymore. Mm-hmm. And ripping that Band-Aid off wasn't like a quick thing. No. But once he did, he was like, oh, like I've already achieved like everything that I've possibly wanted to do with skiing, I've done.
Yeah.
And I don't want to redo it all. I don't want to relive all those experiences I've done that. And that's growing. That's like, you know, you've already rode the gnarliest lines ever. You've won Skier of the Year 4 times or whatever. Like,
it's time to carve some stumps and
yeah,
put them in art galleries.
Stumps,
like,
man. Like,
so much respect for that though.
He also
so
was
awesome.
at a point where I remember him saying one time that like he just didn't want to be scared anymore. Like,
right.
Like standing on top of a massive line, like the mental clock into that. There's not everybody's built like a Kai who can just do that consistently for like 20 years, or a John Jackson or a Travis Rice. It's like those people can do that for a long time. A lot of people got like maybe 5 years to do that, 10 years, maybe 15. But at one point it's like that is a taxing
totally
clocking. Like
I like to call it like my adrenals are tapped.
Yeah.
Like at the end of a long season, I'm like, my adrenals, they're done.
Yeah.
Like
there's nothing left.
Yeah.
Totally.
And then I go to Stay Wild in Pemberton and I see Leah and I get all the vitamins and like do all the resets, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. But
Stay Wild Pemberton, check that out if you're in that area.
Yeah.
Leah,
the best.
amazing.
Yeah. All the things to get you back on track, but like it's so true. Your nervous system can only handle so much. Like before you're like, yeah, I don't need to scare the shit out of myself every single time I go riding.
It's almost like that's part of the process. You know what I mean? Like, how far can I take this?
Yeah.
And that's part of progression, and that's why you are a professional.
Yeah.
And that's what separates you from other people. Like,
good point.
Like, you should, when you're a young kid, like, go on the gas, see where you can take it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then hopefully you do what we said earlier, listen to your gut, and then you can step off a couple of those times that you shouldn't, you know, go overboard, and you can kind of stay inside of like this like progression, but staying in like a safe amount of it. So you're not like going overboard, but like push yourself. You know what I mean? There's nothing worse than riding the park and doing the same thing every day. Like, you know, try the extra 180. Yeah, you might get kind of hurt, but that's part of the process.
100%. I still throw those like Hail Marys out there. I'm like, I have no idea if this will go down
but
well.
If your gut's feeling it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it'll be like, I'm going to crash and I'll be fine because I know what the worst case scenario is, and I'm going to go for it. And if I fail, I fail. That's part of it.
One fish that you have yet to catch.
Tarpon.
Tarpon?
Yeah.
What's
They're
tarpon?
a saltwater fish. You can fish for them in places like Florida. kind of the classic area, but they're like just insanely cool. They come up on the surface and they're 100-pound minimum type deal, and you catch them with dry flies and on fly rods, and yeah, you gotta usually go pretty far out to get them. It's a little bit cowboy, and yeah, like tarpon fishing it's a whole thing. It's like it's a culture. Oh yeah, it's I did catch a marlin on the fly a couple years ago, which is like the fish was bigger than me, and I caught it on like a 10-weight fly rod, just sight casting to it and like stripping the fly in as quick as you could. And I just watched this like like the marlin with like the big pointy nose, and they have like the sail at the top. They're not sailfish because sailfish are deep, but marlin come up. They're topwater fish, and they'll come up on bait balls, and you just throw a fly in the bait ball and you strip it in, and they'll like key in thinking your fly is like a wounded bait fish, and they'll hammer it, and it's like hang on. It's like fight of your life.
How long to reel it in?
It's a good question. Like maybe 20-25 minutes.
Damn.
But like you were holding this 120-pound thing fighting for that amount of time. Like I was so tired I hit the deck of the boat at the end of it. Like I was like floored.
Have you ever caught a dinosaur before?
Dinosaur?
Yeah, have you ever caught a dinosaur before?
What are you talking about? What's a
I've caught a couple dinosaurs before. You ever been to Winnipeg before?
No.
You ever been sturgeon fishing?
Oh my gosh, that's something I really want to do.
My mom, my sister, my dad, and my sister's husband are all like master anglers. You catch a certain size sturgeon, which are bottom feeders in our lakes.
Yeah, here too.
And fuck, they're fucking huge,
they're
crazy
so
looking
cool.
They're like 200 years old or something like that. If you're a sturgeon person, maybe they're older, maybe they're younger. I might be off on that. But
So you can fish for them in the Fraser River, like in our
No way.
backyard here, and so you can catch them in the river, so like in shallow-ish water, in current, and they'll like hammer a fly.
They're strong as shit.
The classic way to fish for them is like you just put like a pack of bacon on a hook and drop it to the bottom.
Damn legends.
They'll like hammer that too, but like they are such cool animals. I forgot about a sturgeon. I'd like to catch one of those.
Yeah, they're sick. I've caught a couple. They're I mean, honestly, I like catching pickerel because then I can actually eat it after.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you rather fish river, ocean, lake?
Oh my gosh, probably. Oh, that's such a hard question. Definitely not lake. That's a whole like chronomid fishing. I hope anyone who listens to this fly fishes because they'll understand this lingo. But chronomid fishing is like it's a science. It's a certain type of lake fishing, very technical. It's fun, but river fishing and ocean fishing is like totally different. Ocean fishing is like the big mountain of
course
fishing. It's like high intensity. Yeah, it's epic. And like the species and like the pull on those like just a little jack in the ocean will pull as hard as like a massive trout in a lake. So that's pretty fun. But I grew up just fishing really small intimate creeks and rivers. So river fishing, just like trout fishing on a nice river.
How far is too far out into the ocean to go fishing?
Oh my gosh.
Like, would you go out into like the middle of the ocean to go fishing? Or is that...
We took a panga, like a tiny boat, one motor, 180K to catch marlin last year.
I'm gonna vomit. That sounds like that. I would never, ever go. If you even invited me, I would laugh at you.
Yeah.
I got lost out at the ocean one time when I was in Mexico, and in like a storm, and our boat was filling up.
Oh my
and
God!
All the shit went. All the satellite shit went out, and then it got all black, and our boat started filling up with water. And we had like this Mexican tour guide who can speak English, and at one point there's like 15 of us, and we all like huddled together, and all the ladies were like. Well, most of the ladies were definitely bawling their eyes out. And like my ex-girlfriend was bawling her eyes out. And then like everyone thought they were going to die. And because the waves got so big that they were capsizing into the boat. And
that is terrifying.
It was the worst day ever. And then
That's how you die on vacation.
this is why I asked you how far you go out there, because I'm terrified of the fucking ocean. But then it broke blue out of nowhere, and we went and swam with the whale sharks, or nobody else did other than me. Everyone cried on the boat and like was punching the guy.
You're
the
like,
guide.
crisis averted. I'm
Everyone's
going
like,
in.
can we just go home? And I was like, well, I'll swim with the whale sharks. Like, we're out here. I was like, these things are amazing. You should all come in the water. They're like, we want to go home.
Oh my God.
I'm like, well, we're out here.
That is wild.
Yeah, totally. It was wild. I only bring that up because when I can't see land and I'm that far out there, I couldn't do it ever again after that experience.
Yeah. I don't blame you. That's some
It was
PTSD
traumatizing.
for sure.
Sorry for jumping in there.
It's incredible. That's like one of the gnarliest vacation stories I've ever heard.
Yeah, totally. It was crazy. Yeah, totally. How did the marlin fishing go again?
Nothing like that. Total debauchery though. Like these guys that I fish with in Mag Bay are like brothers to me, but they are saltwater cowboys. Like so loose. And like George, our captain, will take a bottle of tequila, open the bottle and throw the cap overboard, because it's just like, we're drinking this whole bottle.
I want to say legend, but at the same time, there's definitely like an aspect of like, I want everyone. There's too many people that would be listening to this where like some people, I don't know, like there's also like not legend in that same situation.
Absolutely.
But legend, but not legend.
Yeah. But ultimately it's like, you're in the backcountry. We're all making decisions and we're all responsible for each other. It's not like it's all on one person.
Totally.
And yeah, there's a lot of factors in decision making that go into the open ocean, which I know nothing about.
You're the person on the snowmobile that's just coming out for the day, that's staying in the track. That's the last person coming up that's just like, hey, like, what's the plan today?
Yeah. I'm stuck.
So can I ski that? Is that okay? Can I stand on this cornice? And they're like, oh God.
Yeah, that's me.
That's you. One thing that you have yet to hunt.
Lots of species, I should say, but
Like, do you want to kill like a rhino?
absolutely not, Jody.
Okay, I just wanted to make that clear.
Goodness.
There's going to be some people that
Oh
wanted
my-
to know if you were a rhino hunter.
Absolutely. So I will say, like, that stuff is super twisted, but ultimately hunting is conservation. So all the money that goes into these tags and your hunting license, that goes directly into the species of those animals and the biologists studying the numbers and making the counts so that we can keep the populations in check.
Well, it's like a full circle thing.
Exactly. If unfortunately,
You're contributing to the loop of
we are.
conservation.
It's true. Unfortunately, human beings came along and really messed things up. But yeah, we need to keep these populations in check. So
We're at the top of the food chain, though. You know what I mean? Like, if you remove our biases that we have gotten from society over the last, 7,000 years, 12,000, 20,000 years, like, we're just climbed to the top of the food chain. And this is where we are.
Totally.
It's like, I don't know. We didn't plan for the iPhone to come out. It just happened.
No, exactly. Exactly. But I think like a Molokai it's a small island off of Hawaii. It's a really good example. The axis deer run like rats there, and they're invasive. Like they government desperately wants people to come in and like kill deer because they're eating all the vegetation, which is causing flooding, which is impacting the oceans. It's like, we need to balance out these species. So,
But if that's a private island and no one, do people live on it?
yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was an island that was just like their people didn't live on. I was like, well, then just let nature do its thing.
Oh yeah. No.
That would be weird.
And unfortunately, like, we put those animals there. Like, they wouldn't, they're not native. So they were introduced and now they're a problem. So there's tons of examples of I mean, that's why like they open a certain amount of elk tags up the Squamish River Valley or up in the Sunshine Coast on the island. They open a certain amount of tags every year because they need to keep these populations in check. So without hunters, these species would be completely out of control, and the government would have to come in and do culls, which they do in like a lot of places, even on the island. The government comes in and like kills a bunch of deer, and then they actually donate the meat to a lot of food shelters and stuff, which is pretty cool. But
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Real good meat for the food shelter. I'm about that.
Yeah. But
Hell yeah. Single mom getting some nice deer meat or something. Hell yeah.
it's awesome.
Career highlight in skiing, fishing,
Ooh.
and hunting.
Oh my goodness. Hunting, definitely. I did a trip to the Yukon with it was my first hunting trip ever. With a longtime friend from high school, Jessica Young. She owns a outfitter up there called Midnight Sun, and we went on an 11-day horseback hunting trip.
On horseback ride. On horseback, I should say.
Yes. It was like,
That seems like out of a movie.
this trip changed my life. Like, it honestly
How?
like changed my whole perspective on life. Like, where my food comes from, like how to live simply, like what things we should value. It opened my eyes, and I have incorporated hunting every fall since being on that trip. And it was, yeah, we slept under the northern lights, like just every night. It was just like, oh, there they are again.
The 8th night, you're like, God, they're so bright.
Yeah.
You're annoyed with them.
And just like so much wildlife, like up north is like, it's
That's amazing.
truly wild up there. And like grizzly bear country for sure. Like
When you're in grizzly bear country, some people say bells or whatever. What do you bring? Bear spray? Do you have a 22? Do you have a full shotgun? Like, what are you guys rolling with?
We have our horses. So that's,
Ooh, they don't like horses.
Well, I mean, I shouldn't say never, but realistically, a grizzly's not going to kill you if they know you're coming. It's when they're like spooked and they're like, it's like like they react on
Survival.
instinct.
Yeah.
Because they've been bumped or they're with their cubs or like they're scared, they're frightened. That's usually when they're going to come at you. So traveling through the mountains on horses, you're noisy as heck. Like and the horses alert you too. They'll like put their heads up, they'll flare their nostrils, they'll like kind of shy off or spook up a bit, and you kind of know, okay, something's around here. But it was more like at night when the horses we'd hobble them, so they'd be like free feeding but not able to run away, that we'd be sleeping, and I'd be like, man, I am so vulnerable in this world right now. Like there could, like a grizzly I could wake up to one above my head, and that's where they come in. It like they smell camp, they're
So normally you sleep good unless you're in the Yukon on a camping trip.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So that was definitely my hunt highlight. Fish. Steelhead fish are just like steelhead trout, I should say. They're just the most incredible species. Like, I mean,
like because the beauty of them, because the way they move. What makes them so beautiful?
I could talk to you all day about steelhead just because they're like, I am obsessed. But like, for example, I caught a fish yesterday that would have swam to Japan, around Japan, all the way back here.
What? How do you know that? Do you have a tracking?
Yeah, they track them.
This motherfucker was in Japan.
Yes, most likely. Yes.
What up?
And so what's so cool about steelhead is that they're like their salmon will come in to a river, they'll spawn and they'll die. A steelhead comes in, they swim around the ocean. I'll backtrack. They're born in the river. They swim out of the river into the ocean. They swim around the ocean. They generally like circumnavigate all the way to Japan, the steelhead here. They come back. This fish particularly that I caught swam, I don't want to give away a spot, so I'm going to be careful with what I'm saying, but essentially swam from Japan all the way back up one of these rivers. Local to us will not only survive that, they'll do that 2 or 3 times in their life, whereas a regular salmon just does that once and dies and spawns and dies. And so to make that connection of like with my fly with a fish that wild, it's like connecting with a unicorn. Like they're very hard to catch, and they you never take them out of the water. You're like super respectful. You pinch your barb on your hook. They're unicorns.
Wow, the fact that you have that sort of respect for that fish, and you know about its like little life, and know how special it is, and know when you catch it that it is like a little unicorn, that makes me happy. That makes me happy people like you are on the fucking river.
I mean, yeah, it's these like I've thought a lot about it. I'm like, what is it that I like so much about this? And I think it like really comes down to just like a chance connection, deep connection with nature. Like the odds of that fish finding my fly in that river were like so low. Yeah, you're out just enjoying the day. Like most of the time I don't catch anything. You're not like catching a bunch of steelhead in a season. Well, some are, but they're like, you catch one of those fish and you just like put your rod away for the day and you just like bask in it, because it's like you don't be greedy with that. Like it's like
smile, go home and have some pie.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You mentioned going up to the Yukon and saying that you go up there and you realize what we should value. What should we value?
Nature and wild spaces and like quiet too. I think like so much of our society is like we want to be busy and we want music in our ears. We want headphones. Like we want to be driving our car and like listening to something, which is like I listen to your podcast when I drive, or like I'm not saying like I just sit there in silence every road trip, but I think like quiet space is like really a great way to settle your mind, and like sometimes the best ideas are born from boredom.
Very well said. You know what the most annoying part about nature is when I look up at the sky and I see all those stars, and then I see that dumb thing that Elon Musk made floating in the sky. When I'm out in the middle of nature, I'm like, what? Like
yeah.
that, like it used to be like this blurry twinkle and you'd be like, that's a satellite. And that to people probably in the 40s, 50s, and 60s was annoying. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it's not even
Right.
a fucking star anymore. It's this blurry, blinking object. And then planes got in the way a little bit. And you're like, oh, a couple planes, a couple blurry, blinky things. And now there's, what is that thing called? Stargate? Starlink that flies around and it totally... You're like having the most beautiful view you've ever seen looking over the northern lights, and then Starlink comes.
Right.
How much longer until there's just a McDonald's symbol that just like flies by because they paid enough money? You're like, fuck.
Well,
Like,
feeding the addiction, right? And that's why I said it goes back to just like accepting we don't need this thing on our fingertips. Like our smartphones, like we can actually detach from them. Like it wasn't too long ago when we had an answering machine and like you weren't responsible to communicate with anyone until you got home and checked your voice, like your messages, and then you could call them back if you wanted. Like we don't need to be tethered to these things all the time. And like Starlink is a perfect example of like, just keep feeding the addiction. Like,
but what if you want to know the weather tomorrow because you want to ski a big line?
Totally. So
and you're having a conversation at a cafe at 11:15 a.m. with the group.
But you know what I like to say? Like the best weather report is just going outside and looking at the sky. Like when you're on a true backcountry trip or like a hut trip and you have like an idea of the long-term forecast, like you've checked it prior to, but like, you know, things shift and change and people are always like freaking out, like looking for the window. It's like, just go outside. Like, is it starry that night? It's likely going to be clear tomorrow. That's my favorite kind of forecast. I love that.
I like that. I really do. And fuck Starlink. I just wish that they could like maintain their roots around major cities. Like when I'm out at Gun Lake or, you know, Anderson Lake and I'm staring at the stars, Starlink comes over.
Well, I think it's so those people off grid can have internet.
It's nice for them. Yeah. But when I'm going off internet and my life is more important.
I just want to see the Milky Way.
I'm trying to detach, and those people are trying to attach. So, yeah. You know, where do we draw the line?
Yeah.
Death row meal and drink.
Ooh, steak, potatoes, a good Caesar salad, like with some bite to it, like some nice dressing. and a chocolate cake, like just a good moist home style chocolate cake.
Ah, you had it going on. Everything, the steak and then the Caesar salad and the crunch, but then you went chocolate cake where I would have went a different cake.
Well,
but steak and Caesar salad to me with like some potatoes of some sort.
Oh.
And maybe Yorkshire puddings. That's the only thing I would have added.
Totally. That goes.
Can you make Yorkshire puddings? Those are hard to make.
Absolutely. But
Absolutely.
you need a roast. You need a roast for that because you got to collect the drippings. And it's hard with game meat because it's not as fat. But I grew up like real steak and potatoes. That was like what we ate every single meal. And yeah, not to sound like
Where are you from again? Banff?
From Alberta.
I'm kidding. Where are you from again? Berta?
Exactly. But yeah, not to sound like a huge like meat advocate or anything, but I just like feel like I have a lot of respect for vegetarians and vegan. If that's your path, that's great. But I just personally feel best when I'm eating meat. Like
Me too.
I
went vegan.
Need that protein.
Not my didn't work for me, but it works. That's the thing about our microbiome in our stomach is every single person is from a different place in this world where we would have nestled with our tribe for extended periods of time until recent history. So we're for the first time, like a bunch of Polish people are living in Canada and a bunch of people that were born in Canada or whatever it was at the time live in Africa now. And everyone's stomach is just different. So what works for you isn't necessarily going to work for somebody else.
Totally.
But
interesting way to look at it.
That's what I think. I think that, people that have been born in a certain area and stayed there forever, it's like they probably have been consuming what they've been eating forever. But people, especially Europeans, that's a shit mixed culture right there, Right. And then you come to somewhere like Canada and the US where it's basically like, I don't even know what it is. It's like one big giant test of what we're eating. You read the groceries, if you read the ingredients now, you're like,
don't do it.
What am I? My big thing that's on my TikTok right now, not that I'm on TikTok for skiing or snowboarding, but I like it for health things. Okay. So I follow like people, I don't even follow actually, it's just the algorithm knows that's what I'm into. So right now I'm really into like the palm oil, canola oil, vegetable oil thing and how bad it is and seed oils and how you should stick to what we already kind of know, like avocado oil, coconut oil, butter,
what's
organic,
really good?
Grass-fed.
Tallow.
Tallow, of course. Tallow is in that mix. Delicious, and it's really good for you. If you're into the meat products. If you're not, you should probably go avocado oil or coconut oil. And I'm telling people health advice based off what I saw on TikTok. So take it with a grain of salt.
You're the problem.
I am the problem. But I'm a big advocate for since I kind of care about what I eat when I get home and I stay on my routine and I incorporate that kind of meat. I feel better on that. That it works for me.
Yeah.
Where would you want a cottage?
Ooh, I was thinking about this.
Yeah, it's a good question, isn't it?
I don't want to say because it just blows out the spot.
Okay, yeah, good call. Good call. Let's go. Your second pick for a cottage where you won't have a cottage.
Anderson Lake is actually beautiful.
Anderson Lake is amazing. I spent a lot of time there.
Yeah, I was up there the other day and I was like, damn, this is right in our backyard here, and kind of take it for granted a little bit. And I was just by myself fishing in some of the, wow, I'm really giving it up.
Yeah, totally.
But,
don't go to Anderson Lake.
Yeah,
everybody.
don't fish. It's not good. But yeah, it's easy to take little backyard pocket spots like that for granted. And I was just up there the other day, eyes wide open. This is gorgeous.
Okay. One piece of advice that you wish you had when you were a young Tatum to help you navigate the last 10 years of your life. I wish somebody would have hooked up that piece of advice.
I mean, I think just be yourself.
That's a good piece of advice. I like that.
Yeah. And I think, the more opportunities you get and the bigger venues you enter and rooms that are filled, you tend to want to morph yourself and be, I don't know, be something you're not. And it's so important to just stay true to who you are and not let anything sway you from that.
I think there's a healthy amount of chameleon, which I call reading the room.
Right.
You know what I mean? You need to read the room, so you need to kind of be a chameleon to see what's going on. You're at a funeral, you act a certain way. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
You're hanging out with a bunch of business people that your brother-in-law that you don't know that well, and you're hanging out, fit in. Then there's when you step over and you become the full chameleon, where it doesn't matter who you're with, you fully adapt to who you think that person or what you think that person would want you to be like.
Totally.
And you're like, I think this person would want me to be kind of like edgy. And you're like, so
not
I'm just going to be like, yeah, give me one of those smokes. And you're like, I don't even smoke. Start coughing immediately.
Oh my gosh,
but
totally. Like, but in high school, it's like you're trying to impress the boy. It's like you do that.
Yeah.
You do all those things. But I find like even today, like I'll go to a big sponsor event and like all the CEOs and my, big bosses are there. And it's like, you're having these one-on-one conversations with them. And I'm like, man, I just got to like be me. And that's why I'm signed to this brand, or like, that's why the sponsor values me, is for me. I don't need to like try and be something I'm not. And the moment I had that realization, I think like things just started flowing a lot better for me.
I love that. That was very well said. And I agree. Being yourself, that was a good one. I mean, I feel like a lot of people have said that one before, but our little discussion after was banging. I think we hit it out of the park.
Oh, good.
All right. Who is the GOAT?
Candide, Tanner, Victoria.
Oh, Victoria. Yes, there you go. There's some. You said Hardingham in the middle. That got you some points.
Honestly, like Dustin Craven is so underrated too. He's from the Rockies as well. And I grew up watching his riding, and he deserves a lot more credibility, I think, than he gets. But he's insane. Like the talent on that guy and like his personality, he's so fun to be around. But yeah, I think skiing or snowboarding, it's like the real GOATs are the people you meet in person. Like when I was young and I met Kimmy Fassini for the first time at the Longhorn. I used to work there, by the way. And I walked straight up to her and I was like, hey, Kimmy, like introduce myself. Had no idea what she was going to be like. I was like, I really want to do a double backflip. Like I saw you did one in the park, and do you have any advice? And she just like gave me probably an hour, maybe 45 minutes to an hour of her time, like giving me all of her advice. And like, those are the real GOATs to me, is like these people that have the athletic talent, but then in person, they're just like true gems of human beings.
What you were saying is be yourself. That's what makes you an individual.
Totally.
You can be softer like Kimmy, or you can be crazier and more fun like Dustin. But depending on who you are, just be that one.
100%. And incorporating those people in my crews has been like the biggest thing for me in recent years of being in the backcountry. It's like those that's like your tribe. Like these are your people and that's your support. But like you're out there with friends that are like different personalities. Like maybe they're on the opposite end of those spectrums, but they have something to bring to the table. And like it's just this like great crew dynamic. Like what you have with the Man Boys is like, it's so special. I wish I had that actually in skiing. I wish I had more of like a concrete crew, but like when I am working on my projects and I bring people together, it's like so important to me that their personalities align. It's like,
it's huge. That dynamic we've touched on that a couple times on the podcast, but having that is not only like going to make you ride to the best of your ability, it's also going to be what allows you to have the most fun in the mountains. It's also going to be like, those people are out there and they need to be dialed, because if something goes wrong, you don't want to be like, fuck, like this person's going to help me get out of here. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you want to have some people that are like good at being in the mountains.
Yeah.
And now that you fish, you hunt, you ski, you're out there, like you can really listen to your gut and be like, I want to be with this kind of person in the mountains.
Yeah.
And the combination of all those is really going to help you be really good at being in nature. Like you're just going to be good at it. Have you done first aid?
I need to do more of that.
That's the one thing that I think that like people really nail the AVI safety stuff, and then everything. And then the first aid is like the one thing where it's like if something happens to somebody else and you're not dialed with like knowing how to like, I don't know, like if somebody's bleeding out, how to use a tourniquet or whatever.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did run like a small just like fun event with friends last winter called Avalanche and Après, and I just invited like all the friends to come up, and it was led by a guide, Rupert Davies. And it was so interesting because we did like real mock multi-burial search scenarios, and like Marie France was there, like all the pros, all of our friends, and like everyone learned something. All these people that have done this thing a million times, they were all like, oh my gosh, like completely floored on like a huge learning or a piece of information that they didn't know from that day. And it was really cool. I was like, I need to do this every year.
It's kind of like baking. It is. Every time you bake, you probably get better at it.
Yeah.
Every time you do a beacon search, you just get better at it.
Live and learn.
All right. Any shout outs or closing remarks before we wrap this up?
Oh, man. Well, I just want to say thanks to my family, of course. Just mom and dad, I love you. They've been my biggest supporters through my highs and lows, and friends and neighbors and just this community. Like Whistler, Pemberton, Squamish, it's like such a special area, and we're so fortunate to live here, and there's so many like-minded individuals, and yeah, I'm just so grateful to be in this place and be surrounded by people that are of such influence to me.
Very well said. On that note, we're going to eat some more of this bread, but thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm a huge fan, and I'm assuming there's a lot more fans now that you have been introduced to the snowboard community. Welcome aboard. Great shout-outs with Kimmy, Dustin, Hardingham. You did great. So thanks again for coming on, Tatum. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Jody. That was really fun.
No worries. Cheers. Take care, everybody.
Woo.
Peace.